Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Slant. Slant. All right, Paul, let's go.
Bienvenidos to the Latino Slant. It is
Hi everybody, this is Richie Valens.
time for the Latino Slant pre-show.
Dance party coming your way
Everybody,
very shortly.
Polly here.
I will be having a ball singing for
Not
you,
yet
and I hope to see you
on
all
camera,
real soon. By the way,
but I wanted to play some cool videos,
Bamba
vintage interviews, next 20 minutes, whatever
I'll
it is.
be on your winter dance party coming
And
your way real soon.
get us in the mood.
Swinging and singing and looking forward to saying
As,
hello, baby, to all of you in person.
Hi.
As our guests start coming.
The Crickets and I are really happy to be coming your way.
We got Tom from Midnight's Edge,
certainly hope to see all our
Mexican Iron Man,
making some new ones too.
And then we have a couple special guests coming through, and we won't. We're gonna. And you know what? Now it's time. I gotta let's stop this right here. I got a nice pre-show that I created, like a pre-thing going on for 14 minutes. And then when we come back, it'll be lights on. But I hope you guys are doing well. Please take the link right now. Please share it. Please like all that good stuff. If you see me on Twitter, Latino Slant at Twitter, we got all the links they're up as well. And we're getting ready to have some fun. And let's get this next piece going. And it's a hodgepodge. I think you're gonna like it. I put it together over the last couple of days. And let's share the screen. Don't forget, Paul, to share the audio, because that audio is pretty important. Oh, wait a minute. I lost it for a second. Well, that's all right. I'll find it right now. Once again, man, I thank you guys for being here, part of the pre-show. I know there's other places you could be, but, honestly, I think this is going to be the stream of the night, because we have some incredible people stopping on by. Incredible people. Besides my guest panel, special guest. So let's go right now to this thing that I created, and I'll be saying hi to you guys as well as we check this out. Little Latino Slant pre-show. All right, enjoy.
Hi, everybody. This is Richie Valens. I will be on the Winter Dance Party coming your way very shortly. I will be having a ball singing for you, and I hope to see you all real soon. By the way, hope you have been hearing a lot of my latest Delphi release, La Bamba and Don.
Thing called Sleepwalk. Ladies and gentlemen, Santo and Johnny.
Darth asks, how old do you think Richie Valens would be today? He was 17 when he passed away, plus 62, 72, 78, 79. Conceivable, he would still be alive. He definitely should have been around a lot longer than 17 years. Good God. Yeah. These are two brothers from New York that created this song. And as you know, it's a strong motif in the La Bamba movie for when Richie has those nightmares. So we used to do this thing with the La Bamba song. We'd be standing in a circle and the boy or girl would be walking around the circle. When the music stopped, you had to kiss the nearest. Oh, that's cool. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Well, we thank you guys for being here, part of the pre-show. And, we're going to break down the cast. There's actually some really cool, quick footage of some interviews with the cast members in this. And then also with the director. I was really happy to find a couple of lines from writer-director Luis Valdez, because we need to do a deep dive on Luis Valdez, the writer-director of La Bamba. Also wrote and directed Zoot Suit, and a couple other great, he did the Cisco Kid with Jimmy Smits and Cheech Marin in the 90s. And then he just went back to theater. So we have some interviews with him.
People are on the phone, backstage. Every time we hit a new place, we hit the pay phone. Everybody'd get online. I got to tell you this one thing though. The night before, Richie Valens, who was so cold, so sick, and kind of looked forlorn. He was a sweet guy, and I remember. He's talking to his mom backstage, on the payphone. Mom, I'm cold. I'm this. I miss you guys. And his mom he had talked to her a few times. She's telling, and gets me on the phone one of the nights, and she's saying, Dion, take care of my little boy. He was no little boy. He looked like Rocky Marciano. But I mean, he wasn't a tough guy, but he was no little boy. She's saying, take care of him. He was only 17. And I remember maybe in Duluth, he got a cardboard box with clothesline, wrapped in clothesline. And it was like it looked like a pea coat, but it wasn't a pea coat. It looked like a pea coat with sparkles on it, and his mom sent him a coat because even in Tipton, he wouldn't buy anything. I don't know. I guess he was used to his mom buying his clothes. I'm not sure, but she sent him a coat.
Okay. This is actual footage from the movie. The guy singing, his name is Daniel Valdez. He has the guitar sitting over Lou Diamond Phillips. Daniel Valdez, associate producer of the movie, Luis's brother, amazing, huge mega talent for decades. He was the lead in Zoot Suit, guys. And I also, this is pretty emotional, this footage. And let me back it up real quick because I can, right? Here's the thing. There's a couple of amazing actors that are in this footage that are no longer with us. The woman holding this camera, and she's in and out of the movie. She's also in and out of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. A very small role, but a huge force in a Latino theater. Her name is Diane Rodriguez. She passed away this year, and I just want to give her respect, kind of like pre-show respect, because there's so much to talk about La Bamba. But one of the things there's like a few members of the cast that are no longer with us. Diane is one of them. God bless her memory. There she is with her camera. And the actress Elizabeth Pena, who's Bob's girlfriend and baby mama. She's no longer with us. She passed away about 6-7 years ago. Anyways, this is a wonderful montage, kind of showing the family party. There's Elizabeth Pena right there with Isai Morales. All right, I'll be quiet. Just wanted to give those two actors love and props.
Hey, look at this.
And right on time for Woody Woodpecker, the great Tom of Midnight's Edge.
Hey, this is the
After
real
Dark.
stuff.
This is the real stuff. They make cartoons out of this.
Kitty stuff.
Kitty stuff. That guy's teeth.
Keepers.
Eat it.
It's a great honor that Colombia
Wow.
is doing this. Nobody else in Los Angeles has done this, and La Bamba has become a classic. And it's a film that I will be on the streets or shopping or doing whatever.
I found this footage, Tom. These interviews.
To this day, for 25 years, I will encounter a grandmother who has a daughter.
And she passed away in 2014.
Grandson, that they have all seen La Bamba.
It is really difficult to wrap my head around the fact that it's been 25 years since we made this film. First of all, that means I'm 25 years older. It's like, where did the time go? People still cry over it. People still are moved by it. And I'm very touched by that. But I think it's because, we literally caught lightning in a bottle. Having Isai and Elizabeth and Joey Pantoliano and Rosanna De Soto, who played, our mom. There was so much heart and so much passion and so much commitments, from Luis Valdez, our writer-director, and Danny Valdez, his brother, that this film is overflowing with soul, and people still see that today.
It's nostalgic. It's it's wonderful to see Lou and Elizabeth and realize we haven't been in, all three of us, in the same room in almost 25 years. So it's a homecoming of sorts. Chicago, interestingly enough, was like the birth of my feature film career, where a few years before La Bamba, about 5 years exactly, we shot a film here called Bad Boys with Sean Penn. Yeah, very Chicago film. And so for me, Bad Boys put me on the map. La Bamba kept me there. And so it's kind of like one of those all coming together events.
I think it was quite surprising to them that his career only lasted 8 months, but he had 3 hits. Come On, Let's Go, La Bamba and Donna. I had heard, La Bamba and Donna, and couldn't really put a face to who he was, And then finding out about this story and the tragedy of him dying at 17, and also, the historical implications of it, with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper and the day the music died. This was a story that was astounding to me. I remember reading the script, and when I got through it, at that point in my life, I'd never wanted anything more. I read this and I went, "Oh my God, this is I've got to do this."
And as it turns out, Lou, who was auditioning for Bob, because that's the kind of characters he had gotten before, was more suited to play Richie. He was more of a doe-eyed newcomer to Hollywood and the entertainment business. So while I had already had some experience. So it worked out perfectly. I think it was meant to be. And the interesting thing is that I feel like Richie Valens was the lighter side of Bob Morales. Bob Morales was the dark side of Richie Valens.
I was originally up for the role of Bob. When they came to Dallas, Texas, they put me on tape for both roles, flew me out to continue auditioning in Hollywood, and Eastside was up for Richie, and I was up for Bob. And that went on for a few days until, I don't know, Luis Valdez had an epiphany and switched us, and it clicked.
Now that I did not know.
What followed was even more success for Valdez, and in 1987 he wrote the screenplay and directed the blockbuster film La Bamba, the tragic story of rock and roller Richie Valens, whose life was cut short in a plane crash.
It was true to Richie's spirit. He would have been very generous. He was a very generous person, very loving person, who encountered a world that he changed through his music. The heartline of La Bamba, I think, is what keeps it popular. The fact that it's a story of two brothers. It's a Cain and Abel story. There's nothing that's biblical. That goes way back. And when two brothers can, because of jealousy and anger or whatever, those roots that come out of childhood and manifest in different ways in adulthood, in some ways a competition for mama's love. What could be more basic than that?
Okay, after this song, we'll turn it over. We will play the show intro, and I will introduce all our guests. Please take the link, share it, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Let's get some family members in here, some people that love La Bamba, love the Latino culture. We're going to have a great time breaking down just one great film called La Bamba.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Slant.
Slant.
All right, Paul, let's go.
Well, there you go. Hey, everyone. Oh, shit. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it, man. We're on YouTube. This is the Latino Slant. If this is your first time checking us out, my name is Pauly, and welcome so much. If you're a new subscriber, muchísimas gracias. We're like around 600 subscribers in a short amount of time. I want to thank the family of the Latino Slant: Mexican Iron Man, Theo Jesse, Barrio Boychek, Art Wrenches, shut up, guys, in the chat, Darth Haster, and the great Clobber and Times. Too funny, man. Too funny. But you can hear me now, so that's a good thing. Again, if you're actually new to YouTube, but you're joining us, there's a chat going on. It's live. It is active. We have some wonderful people in the chat, so go ahead, jump in and say hello. Now, before I bring on my first guest, who's like a guest, special guest panelist, and we have some surprises for you, I just want to let you know that when I was 17, I was looking for people, because it was 87, and I was looking for people who looked like me, and that's it. Because up until then, my heroes, which are my heroes to this day, are Rocky, Luke Skywalker, Kal-El, Superman, and Danielson. Richie Valens and La Bamba. This movie was the first movie where I was like, there I am. And it's always held a very special place in my heart. And I'm very surprised to I love it. Did you ever show we waited for an hour before I left? Okay, I'm getting confused here. Okay, anyways, I recently saw the film, and I am happy to say it is getting better and better as the years gone by. Okay, let's get our guest in. No, that wasn't a bumpy intro. What's up, dude?
That's all right. It happens. How you doing, Pauly? How you been?
I'm excited. I'm like I've been waiting for this, and then, first of all, dude, thank you for being on our
Oh,
show.
no problem, man.
Yeah,
this is a pleasure of mine because I love this movie, and it's not a movie that gets brought up very often, but I have a feeling we'll get into it quite a bit here in the next hour or so.
Yeah, there's like a lot of angles here on that, just on what you said, as to, a couple of years ago, it got registered in the Congress Film Registry or something like that, right? Yep. But I think as far as like Chicano, Latino legends, like maybe Selena has really taken, like as far as legend, it's
Right.
kind of like shadowed it a little bit as a movie. But yeah, maybe because Lou Diamond is just, Richie Valens is, it's, that was from the 50s. Who really listens to rock and roll from the 50s, besides, maybe not as big as Selena's music,
Well, I think
ahead.
it really speaks to, because even though he was really only a part of the rock and roll culture for such a short period of time, as we'll get into here, just the impact overall that he had was crazy. And then to be, unfortunately today being that anniversary of, for him to be on that plane, and to be a part of that. Again, there's just so many integral parts he is in, besides the Latino, slant, the Latino slant being, as far as being the first premier rock and roll star of, the Latino persuasion. And then you also have just, he had two top 40 hits, at such a young age. I'm willing to bet that at that point he was probably the youngest to have those, rock and roll hits at that early period of the rock and roll era. Just all the things that he did in just that short time period, and it's just crazy. And to think that he wrote so much of his music too, besides La Bamba. He didn't write La Bamba, but the rest of it, he did at the age of 17. It's just crazy. So, I mean, you can see how he can be, just such an icon. And, he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though he never had a number one hit. And he only really has, like 3 known hits, maybe 4 or 5 if you really get down to it. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much of an influence the kid had with very little time on this earth.
Well said. And, we're talking about the late 50s where really Elvis kind of like, was
dominated.
He was dominated, but he had left, right? He went to the army. There's, what was the homeboy's name? Great Balls of Fire. He was kind of
Jerry Lee Lewis, and you had, of course, Little Richard and Chuck Berry were coming on the scene.
But these cats, Buddy Holly and Richie Valens,
Buddy Holly,
these guys wrote their music, man.
Yeah, Buddy Holly really brought the Southern sound to rock and roll, like the rockabilly sound. So, like, you had all that stuff before. Yeah, you had all that stuff before. And then Richie, on the other hand, was bringing that West Barrio kind of sound mixed with Mexican, all that kind of stuff to the rock and roll. So, like, you had 2 different guys bringing brand new stuff to the table that had never been heard before. So, like, especially when La Bamba kicked off, like, that, not only did that song become a huge hit, it kicked off an entire new sound in rock and roll. Like, I mean, that was, you started to see a lot of Latino rock bands after that as well, just trying to recapture that sound.
Well, of course, we can point to Los Lobos, who that's who you hear. That's who you hear when you watch the movie La Bamba. It's David Hidalgo's voice, not Richie Valens' voice in the movie.
No, but they do a great job capturing the sound.
Man, I mean, have you ever seen Los Lobos live?
Not like personally, no, but like, I can imagine they sound good. I mean, I've seen them, of course, with their performances, but like, I've never got the chance to actually see them in person.
I think they really took everything that Richie Valens in that short amount of time represented, and that it's in their music. They play everything. They're a blues band. They're a rock band. They do the La Bamba stuff. It's just amazing, their body of work, and that's a whole nother show.
Right.
But, from Santana to Los Lobos to these newer bands, Ozo Motley, Las Cafeterias, there's Richie's is, they call him the father of Chicano rock. And
which is funny because I almost compare La Bamba to The Godfather in a lot of ways, not in the sense that it's a film about crime family or anything, but it is a film about family. And not only is it a film about family, it's a real family portrait of a time, a specific type of family. And just beyond Richie's, stardom, it's a story about brothers at its heart. And just as much of a star as the movie, is Lou Diamond Phillips as Asai Morales with his role as Bob, who is, the soul of the film. If Richie's the heart, obviously, then Bob is equally the soul. So, I mean, you have that Cain and Abel story in there at the same time. It's really, there's a lot of layers to the film that's why, and then, like you said, you add in the Santana doing the soundtrack, Los Lobos doing the music, because technically, let's face it, I'm sure they would have loved to use Richie's music, but what was recorded at the time, it technical wise, I mean, that literally technical wise, that was probably nearly impossible to be able to implement that into the film. So like, I can see why they had to make that choice. And in the end, it was the right choice, obviously, because Los Lobos, became who they are now. And not only that, they brought Richie's music to an entire new generation that had never even heard of him before, like you started off by saying, because I mean, I never knew who he was. I mean, I've heard his songs before that, on radio and in commercials and stuff like that, but I never knew who Richie Valens was until I saw La Bamba, at the age of 7 when it came out.
Well, that's my first question to you, and then I want to get into the actual story of the movie. But we got our first tip of the night. Thank you, Mexican Iron Man. He's supposed to be here, but we'll take the tip, and this is for you, brother. Mexican Ironman says, great content by 2 totally brilliant hosts. Listening, watching from work home. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Mexican Ironman. So where? So without too many details, I take it you didn't watch this. You were 7 and you saw it in a movie theater in the
No,
Midwest.
actually, I saw it on video for the first time. The cassette tape, the soundtrack was actually my first cassette tape. My parents had switched over from LP to cassette, and the first one I picked out was La Bamba because I love the song from the radio, and then when the video came out, I watched it on video and I fell in love with it, of course. And I mean, God, that first, there's my collection now.
Wait, this is the overlay. Let me keep going, brother.
Yeah, but like at the time, I just saw the movie and I just, like I said, fell in love with it, the story, and then my parents told me, it's a true story. So that, really resonated with me, knowing that, it was something that really happened. And, then when over the years, it was just a movie that I always had, and fell in love with and seen many, many times, still quote many times over. But yeah. So, and I actually have another CD of that as well. More than one CD.
I mean, this is Tom's La Bamba collection right here.
My original cassette tape is like long gone. I might have the cover somewhere just out of nostalgia's sake, but like, yeah.
This is great. That vinyl is beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's still in the original plastic. Jesus. You can even see the little tagger on there for $7.25 back in the day.
Oh yeah.
The little red part even has a little date on it.
So this was your first. This was your gateway drug into the Chicano culture, La Bamba.
Pretty much, absolutely. Between this and Cheech Marin, definitely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Years before my parents would allow me to see Cheech and Chong, of course, I got to see Born in East LA, which came out ironically, I believe, the same year, if not the year after. So yeah, those were probably my first two major, kind of introductions to the Chicano culture, as you said.
Orale. So we got a lot of people in the chat, and I want to thank you guys for being here. Derek Davey, who I believe is one of your subs, and he's been pretty cool here. I live fairly far north in Canada. Unfortunately, I've never gotten to experience Latin culture or meet many people. Well, you're here. There you go, man. So the three movies, Maldecido, 1904, the three movies I remember most of my childhood: La Bamba, RoboCop, and Marked for Death.
When you were born.
Wow, that's
clearly
great.
Can tell when you were born.
Yeah. So the movie opens up. The first thing that we get in the first 10 minutes of the film is, like you said, is the family,
right?
Which is this awesome mother played by Rosanna DeSoto, and they're working the farms up northern California, and then Bob comes and says, "We're getting the hell out of this hellhole," and they go to Pacoima.
Yep.
So I mean, there's a lot that happens there. Bob steals Rosie, Richie's girlfriend.
Right. Which ironically, I believe, isn't Pacoima where Richie was originally born anyway, or was it?
Yeah, I think what it is that they probably, we have a very special guest, and we're gonna get him in here in like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully we gotta get to the guest here soon.
Absolutely, and my feeling is that they just followed crops. They just did seasonal picking, so that's why they probably went up north, did the work, and came back to Pacoima. My family did that,
like during the summer. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, they would just follow the crops, in whatever state you're in. It's kind of like it changes up. So cool. And then, it's already just, there's just so much corazon. There's so much heart in this movie right off the bat. And Richie starts going to school in Pacoima, and then he's going to audition for a band, Tom, called the Silhouettes.
Which is a real band, yes. Or was a real band, yes.
And the leader of the Silhouettes, this gentleman's name was Rudy, and he was, kind of a hater on Richie, kind of a hater, but a memorable performance, Tom,
Yes, by the wonderful actor Jeffrey Rivas, who did a great job, and I'm sure he has some interesting stories he could tell about that. One I know specifically I want to get into here soon too. Yes.
Well, let's not wait any further. Jeffrey Rivas from La Bamba, from Blood In, Blood Out. And what's up, brother?
What's happening, gentlemen? Happy
How are you?
2021.
Welcome.
Welcome indeed. Thanks for being here. I know you're extremely busy. I first want to congratulate you. You just did 9/11, 911 Lone Star. And it was funny because Romy, Mrs. Slant, was in 911 the hour before you. That was awesome. World. So small, my friend. And then you guys, you and Romy, were in Oedipus together.
Yes.
And you killed it, man. That was fantastic. That was fantastic.
That was a whole different new experience for us doing theater in a different way, yet trying to help, the Mark Taper Forum and the Center Theater Group get their season out via a social media platform. So yeah, it was definitely different, and people actually responded to it quite well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just saying, you have such a vast, filmography. I bet you never thought you'd be sitting here talking to a couple of YouTubers about a movie that you have such a small, I wouldn't say small role, but you disappear after the first half because you're basically the closest we have to an antagonist in the film, I guess you could say.
If you don't count Isai, yeah.
That's a little difficult because he is kind of the anti-hero of the film. So you're more or less the antagonist, I guess, in the beginning part of it. Yeah,
I'm the bigger a-hole in the film.
But you do it so well, which is something that gets overlooked so often. Is guys like most recently, of course, William Zabka being big again because of Cobra Kai. But everybody always went to Johnny Lawrence as the bully, and for that one, and other roles that have brought up in the. Like Biff and Back to the Future, but nobody really, thinks about you in this role so much because, you do play a real person who actually in real life, they don't really portray it in the movie it's different how it happened in real life, but that your character actually kicked Richie Valens out of the band.
Yeah, actually the real person that my character is based on, his real name is Gil Rocha. And actually he is the last survivor. He just lost band member number 7, so he's the 8th and last member of the Silhouettes that's still alive. Right. He lost his wife last year. Yeah, so he's been on definitely a roller coaster. I've been watching his posts and texting him back and forth, and my heart goes out to Gil Rocha, who one of the original Silhouette members. And he's got a little chip on his shoulder because of the way that character is portrayed. Is not the way he says things happen. He definitely has a different take on it, and I try to tell him it's a movie. They got to make me look bad, so don't take it so personal, Gil.
Yeah, I hope he really wouldn't, because unfortunately, like I just said, even though he's kind of portrayed as the antagonist, he's still up there with some other people as far as I'm concerned, because the character is important to the story. In so many ways. If it wasn't for him reacting the way he did to Richie, then Richie wouldn't have probably went on the crusade he did the way he did. So I feel like that's a big part of the story.
And there's one scene they cut out. It was after the night that Richie's playing and he leaves. Isai's character comes back and kind of rips me a new one for not letting his brother play in the band. Protecting his brother. But what I heard back then was that, again, this was Lou's second film, and that Isai was coming off too much stronger. His character was coming off stronger than Lou's Richie character, so they wanted to pair it or balance it a little bit more. And I still have yet to see that full scene. I would love to see if it's somewhere where it could be found. But it was a pretty fun scene where he throws me over my drum set and kind of embarrasses me a little bit. So
yeah, that's funny because this is one movie that pretty much no deleted scenes that I know of have ever surfaced. That I've ever seen. So that would be really nice to see that and some of the other stuff that was taken out of the movie. But one funny story I remember hearing about the film that concerned you was they had originally done, you were like singing to the playback of the Los Lobos versions of the song, and then the director loved your performance so much that you're the only one in the movie who actually has a live vocal performance. Is this true?
So can I go back and sort of dovetail this whole?
Absolutely, please
Okay,
do.
There's so many things that happen up until this point. So before I even came to LA to start going to school at UCLA, in my formative years, there was a station. I lived up in Northern California, up in a town called San Mateo, and across the bay, Berkeley was a radio station called KBLX, and they started that format, the Quiet Storm, Soft and Warm. And at midnight, there was a DJ who would always play this one song called "Goodnight, My Love" by Tavares, a second version of "Goodnight, My Love" by Tavares, and Tavares made it a hit again. And I loved that song and always would sing it. And ended up meeting the DJ, one of the DJs of that radio station, because I just loved her voice. And I just said, what do I have to lose? Let me just reach out to her. When I moved to LA, she was down in LA on The Wave, which became The Wave, which also had that, who brought that format to LA. And we became friends, and I've been following her career. She's been following my career. And we chatted about how I would go to bed at night singing, "Goodnight, My Love." Graduated UCLA. Right before I graduated with my MFA, that summer before, I did a workshop with the Teatro Campesino with Luis Valdez. And even prior to that, before I started my MFA program, I auditioned for a play Teatro Campesino was doing. And I got cast in it, but I had to choose between either starting my MFA program or doing the play. And if I had done the play, there was no guarantee I would get back into UCLA, into the MFA program. I would have to start that whole process over again, and I didn't want to risk that. I wanted to make sure I had, a degree, another degree under my belt. So if this career didn't pan out, I'd have something to fall back onto with a master's. So I followed that career, and then the year I graduated, Los Angeles Theater Center opened in 1985. And they were doing this play called "I Don't Have to Show You No Stinking Badges," which was the follow-up or Luis Valdez's next play after Zoot Suit. I was the understudy for that, and that actually extended. I did a bunch of high school performances, and then right as that was ending, they started auditioning for La Bamba. And I actually read for East Side Spire. I read for Bob, and was in that running kind of, but Isai was so amazing and so talented, and had more credits than I did. So then I went back in, and I bought a sax from my buddy who I used to be a roadie for their band, Los Amigos Cósmicos, Mario Flores, who's actually the guy who replaces me in the movie. He's my buddy who I used to roadie for, and I got him that part. I said, hey, you need another saxophone player. This guy plays a sax so much better than I do, and he's in a real band. And that's in that fight scene in the gymnasium. He's the one playing the saxophone. Right. So that's Mario Flores. So my audition was, I took my saxophone in and, I sang a little bit of "Goodnight, My Love." And so then I got cast. And as we were prepping for the film, all of us, the silhouettes, went into a recording studio and we're listening to the tracks and making sure that we got the lip syncing and the instrumentation down, fingering down, and all that. And on the night of that shoot, they were discovering that Los Lobos, who are so amazing and have such great voices, that I don't know if it was Caesar or David was doing my voice, one of those two, but that it was sounding too good compared to it wasn't making Richie's character stand out that much more. If I could,
I think on the soundtrack it was Caesar.
Okay, so Caesar was doing my voice, and I said, and so that night they said, let's gut the mic and just let you go at it. And so it was a crazy night, but it was so much fun. And I didn't hold back. I just went for it. My Achilles heel is that I can't carry a tune. I can if I practice, but it's not one of my strong suits. So I went for it. And then once that film opened, everyone kept saying, why were you singing? Why would you let Richie sing? So that's kind of, in a smaller, I know I rambled, but it's just this whole full circle kind of thing happened with that.
No,
and
it's
that,
pretty. No,
that was my first film, right out of
Mm-hmm.
UCLA. And, I've been very blessed and fortunate and have made a career out of this. So
Yeah, no, that's basically the same story I heard for the most part, except for the first part, obviously. But yeah, for what it's worth, it was one of the funnier bits of the film. I hope at least you take that as a compliment because it worked. And that's what the director was looking for when he said he heard that, and he was just like, that's exactly what we need to do, kind of thing. Yeah.
It was. I got so much negative feedback, but in a positive way. When the movie came out, I mean, so many people. I would show up at some parties, and I mean, the movie did very well, and the movie still does well. I mean, it's one of those gifts that keeps giving. I still get residual checks for it. That it's not the pennies that some of the other stuff I've done shows. It's actually it's a very nice surprise when those checks come in.
Well, it was funny because I was listening to an interview with Asai Morales, and he mentioned you, and he said he loves whenever he talks to you, he loves to tell you how much he hated you in the film because he's usually the one that gets told that.
Right.
So at least he gets to tell that to you for once. So it's kind of like vindication for him on that part. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a funny story.
Here's a little trivia. So at that time, I had a motorcycle, and I'm the one who sort of helped Isai learn how to ride that idiot motorcycle.
Oh, really?
Before we were shooting in Hollywood in a big parking lot, I brought my motorcycle, let him, show him how to shift and everything, and we were driving around in the parking lot. He hadn't driven a motorcycle that much prior to that film, so he wanted him to look as strong as he could riding that bike.
And that chopper too.
Yeah, that's a great shot. Him riding that chopper on that street. So
now, Asai was actually fortunate enough to get to meet his counterpart before and during the film. Now, did you actually get to meet yours prior to, or did you become an acquaintance later on? Because I know you were just talking about him earlier.
I met Gil beforehand, and so here's another little trivia thing. So I met this woman, Norma Navarro. Now it's been 30 plus years beforehand, and she used to help out our theater company as we were working. And so I met the family during the shooting, and subsequently at the opening. Connie was still alive. Connie was in that video shot that you were talking about with Diana Rodriguez. And
I didn't bring her up because she had died such a long time ago.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that those are the little gems that if you don't know or you find out, it's like, wow, that was the real Connie. No, that was Richie's
mom. She
mom.
sadly died 3 months after the film was released. Yeah,
but she got to see the film release, which was pretty cool.
Way cool.
I went to a funeral, but so I.
Oh wow!
So at Norma's 40th birthday party, I go. I'm with a woman at that point, and no big deal. 10 years later, her 50th, I go with my buddy Mario, who's in the film, and Norma introduces me to her sister, who I subsequently end up getting married to. We're born on the same day, same year. She's 12 hours older than I am. And she takes me to a party. Before we get married, she takes me to this party. She goes, "Oh, you probably won't know anybody here." And when we get there, it's the real Rosie and her daughter, Nora, who my wife and Nora went to junior high and high school together. So, and they're like, "Jeff, what are you doing here?" and my wife is like freaking out, thinking, San Fernando is such a big place. And I'm not even from LA, that who would I know there? And here I am, rapping with the family because of the movie. So, and we still get together occasionally. So I see the Morales family quite a bit.
Well, you have a lot of fans here in the chat, Jeffrey. So that's way cool, man. That's
Hello,
way
everybody.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mexican Iron Man actually saw you in No Stinking Badges. He's from up north, so he knows El Teatro Campesino. And just like a really quick history to people in the chat, to our followers, El Teatro Campesino started in the 60s by Luis Valdez, along with the farm workers movement with Cesar Chavez. And they would do these street theater plays, kind of like, trying to, educate not only other farm workers, but the masses that would see them. Luis Valdez eventually went to do, like I said, Zoot Suit, the first Chicano play on Broadway. Did the movie version, La Bamba, and he did a couple other things, but he just basically went back to the theater.
Mm-hmm. He just had a play 2 years ago called The Valley of the Heart, which was about takes place in the 1940s, right after Pearl Harbor gets bombed, and the internment camp. So there's two farmer families. One is Japanese and one was Mexican, and how they interacted and what happened, once they get interned. And
like Manzanar, you mean?
Yeah.
Wow. Really quick, want to thank Red Hot Jeremy. You just tipped $2, so we're gonna play that mariachi tree one more time. Red Hot Jeremy says La Bamba's my favorite movie. Lovely sound. Thank you, Red Hot Jeremy. We had another tip come in. I just want to get to this. Zero Depressive tip $10. Have you guys ever met? I know. Have you guys ever met Maria Conchita Alonso or Ruben Blades? I'll leave that up to you, Jeffrey.
I've met Maria. She had worked on Roosters with my good buddy Valente. And so I met them at some function. She's a hoot. She was definitely out there. I was in proximity of Mr. Blades, but I didn't get a chance to meet him. But love his music and love what he stands for and all the causes that he supports.
La Bamba, Richie Valens, Selena's story is being told again in a Netflix television show, 2 seasons, no less. Really the same story retold to a new generation. Has there ever been any talk of a La Bamba redo or a television series version? Anything out there in the ether that you have heard about over the last few years?
The latest thing I heard was they were trying to make a story about Rosie because she's still alive, and even though her relationship to Richie was short-lived and not well documented, but that they were trying to do the story about her because she's out of that whole movie. Her character is the least one really explored, and so the fact that she's alive, her children and grandchildren are trying to support her and see if they can't come up with the story of Rosie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But Pacoima has a lot of people went to that. My wife went to the high school Richie went to, and in the San Fernando Valley, the Taggers, and a lot of people went to that high school. George Lopez, newly elected Senator Padilla. So yeah, that's a lot of.
I didn't know that about Padilla. Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of people went to that high school.
So Pacoma is like the East LA of the Valley.
It is.
And it's kind of like for people out there that are trying to like get your head around LA, in the Valley, and Pacoima is like, I would say, what, 10-15 miles north of Hollywood.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
and a little bit east. So that's the area that we're talking about.
Between the 5 and the 18 and the 170 and the 118 is Pacoima.
Yeah.
If those geography helps people, that's the lay of the land there.
But Jeffrey, this movie just keeps getting better and better every year I see it.
Well, like I said, I think we knew, not so much that we had lightning in a bottle, but that it was the first time an endeavor like this was being taken on. And I knew I had a feeling that it was something special. That the first day I got on the set, there was a lot of egos, a lot of tension was going on. Taylor Hackford, who's amazing. I got to work with him multiple times since La Bamba, and it's always a blessing to work with him. Very strong force. Luis Valdez, very strong first. The cinematographer was Adam Green, who had just come off Terminator, and strong opinion. This is Luis Valdez's first film directing, so a lot of people were like, hands-on. He had his camp, Taylor had his camp, and there was just, people knew that this had the potential of something really big and didn't want this to, go astray, or so there was just this like, who's controlling what, and I could feel that, and to me that said that, wow, this is something big, that if that people care that much about it, that they're really trying their best to make sure nothing goes wrong with it. So I think it stood out of the film. A lot of the films I've worked on, this one has stood its test of time. And it's great storytelling. A lot of people before they were even breakout, big time actors. Just bringing truth to the story. Their truth, and I think that's what helps.
Yeah, I mean the movie's full of great performances, but not only that, I feel like before this there were a few biopics, but like I feel like La Bamba really ushered in the way that all the way up through Bohemian Rhapsody, the way these movies are done now. I feel like that was kind of the first time it was done like that, in a way that was, I don't know how to put it, but it wasn't exactly glamorized, but it was done in a very concise way. Because even if you watch the Buddy Holly story, it's got this kind of lackadaisy way it tells the story and just kind of meanders through Buddy's life. This, maybe it's just because Richie had such a short, time period that he was famous. I mean, this just seems so much more focused and on point. And even though it does take, certain elements, even including your character's real life counterpart, and, fudges with some of the things, but it really made it work for the movie, which, like I said, we see carry on even to like most recently with like Bohemian Rhapsody, where, yeah, things happen. They didn't happen in that order, but they did it in a way to make it work best for a 2-hour movie. And that's the thing about La Bamba, is it's very tight. It's got great characters, great acting involved. And your part included in that, because like I said, it's all part of this cohesion that makes it work. And even if that's not the way it worked in the way that it happened in real life, it's not historically accurate, but it's very artistically accurate. And I steal that from George Lucas. That's one of his sayings. But like, yeah, I feel like that's the thing with La Bamba, is it really kind of captured not only the period, but a period of the 80s and how the story was told. And with the music and everything just kind of came together. Like you said, lightning in a bottle, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it has so much heart, which is I think a big part of it. That where the storyline comes from and what the bottom line really is. It's just the story of a struggling family and just what happens, to that family when one person sort of supersedes or succeeds beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, who would have thought that a little kid out of Pacoima could have become that superstar in such a fast time, and especially under all the circumstances that he had to go up against, racism, injustice, all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's why it endears so much, and it's such a pivotal time in Americana story, just in terms of look who we lost with that airplane crash. Look at all those people, and all on a flip of a coin. Who would have thought? You think that's how you make those decisions. A flip of a coin, you take the seat. Flip, you lose. You don't. You miss the plane, and you survive.
Yeah, which is ironic because Richie was notoriously known for not liking to fly. He had a fear of it, a deathly fear of it. And that night he was anxious to get on the plane because of how the bus was broke down, or not broke down, but the heating system had broke down basically. And yeah, so like it just, the irony of it all is kind of just tragic. Yeah.
Jeff, you have a few minutes to hang out with us and go through this cast list. Would you mind?
I'm happy to. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Well, before we get to that, you have a lot of people in the chat. Mexican Iron Man. Question: haven't recently done 911 and Oedipus on the COVID stage, as well as feature motion pictures. Which does Mr. Rivas prefer? Theater, TV, or movies?
Good question.
I already know the answer.
Well, they each have their positives and negatives. The theater, right away, with your live audience, depending on your character, whether they're with you or against you. Even if so, if you're playing the antagonist and you're doing well and you hear people, grumbling, you know you're doing well. Or you're in a comedy and people are laughing and you're, you know, that's the whole beauty about stage, is that it's this responsive call and response kind of thing. You know, in that moment, whether you're hitting your marks or not. TV and film, you hear, you know, the crew sometimes will laugh or respond or will come up to you after and go, that was a very touching scene. You did that well, you know. But again, once it's in that can, it's out of your hand as a performer, and you're hoping that the director and the post-production people, the editors and sound people are you know, taking what you've given them and making it the best, making you look the best, but it's out of your control. So, you know, I don't watch all the time a lot of my stuff because I was there and I kind of know what I hope I know what I did. And I don't want to go back and look at it and go, I should have, or I could have. I'll go back later and watch stuff and then, you know, try to learn from it, both good and bad. And then in terms of the, you know, monetary, of course, films and TV pay a lot better than theater. But again, though, as an actor, though, nothing beats live stage, though.
You get the instant reaction, yeah.
Well, it's magical. It's magical, you know, because you're live, and anything and everything can go wrong. And how do you respond to it in that moment without, you know, breaking everything, you know, without breaking character or breaking that fourth wall, because, you know, things happen. It's live.
Yeah.
And Mike Pasco says, Mike Pasco says, I followed Jeff every step of his career. The fact that he's still working today is a testament to his talents. Heart.
Well, little known, Mike Pasco is married to my sister-in-law. So that's why I didn't pay him. I heard you talking about putting this out,
well,
so I just put it out right before we started. So I'm happy that he's watching.
That's
Thank
all
you,
right.
Michael.
I was just about to say, well, of course you can't go back and watch all the stuff you've watched. You wouldn't have the time to. You've been in I'm not even kidding. Like, you've been in so much stuff. Like, I just noticed, I didn't even realize it until I mentioned earlier. You were born in East LA, for Pete's sake. I mean, you've been in so much stuff. It's like throw a rock and you've probably been in it. Like, at this point, I'm looking at your list.
You know, look, here's the thing. And you would talk to any actor and you probably, for the most part, would get the same response. I don't feel like, you know, I've worked enough, and other people, you know, the fact that I have been, you know, making a living at doing what I love and really been working towards is just a blessing in and of itself. But yeah, you know, to be in that top 5% of actors who can who made a living and being a person of color on top of that, you know, again, it's not so I take it lightly or that I pride myself in it, but it's just a reality and something that every once in a while you have to just sit back and acknowledge and just say, hey, you know, not bad for, you know, a little kid born near Fresno who has no family, nobody in this business, you know, and moving to LA on my own pretty much. And, you know, navigating through this business is not easy. You know, with no mentorship, no one to take you under their wing, and not to say things could have turned out any differently, but you know, you walk down Hollywood Boulevard and you see people that came here with the same hopes and dreams, and you know, it's just sad to see the state that they're in, you know, and where they are, as opposed to, you know, having a roof over your head and things like that. So,
no, especially the way things are right now. Yeah, I'm sure it's definitely one of those things to take into consideration. But one thing I did notice, like in the movie, again, watching it and knowing the real silhouettes, like we had talked a little bit about, you know, and you were just bringing up the fact that, you know, that you were fortunate to be able to have that at that time. And I think that's something that La Bamba is very overlooked in this time period now, when, you know, people are always talking about, you know, when race is always a big thing in the headlines and stuff like that, and what movies and television can do and this, that, and the other. I think La Bamba is always overlooked in that conversation, because at that time period, you know, like we were just talking with Paulie before you come in, it was my introduction, you know, as a Midwestern white boy to Latino culture in a way. And then it's also at the same time, it was probably the introduction to a lot of people in America in that sense. And not just that, but to Richie Valens, because, you know, he had such a short period on the stage of life. And then you go into the simple fact that the silhouettes themselves at that time were a very diverse group because they are portrayed on screen fairly accurately. You got several members of the group that are not white, obviously, as we were just pointing out.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's just a lot of elements of this film that just have stayed strong to this day. That people who see it now or have seen it from the very first time it premiered to now, keep seeing new things or noticing different things, and it's just like it's just great to hear the feedback from people all the time about this film. And it being my first film, I feel again very blessed and fortunate to have been part of that project.
Was Born in East LA after?
Yes, it was. It was the next film after that. Yeah.
Wow. Let's go down memory lane and let's check out Tom and Jeffrey. The cast list. Is that cool?
Yeah.
There it is. And of course, everyone knows about Lou Diamond and the brothers, and Elizabeth Pena, who's no longer with us. She had some amazing roles, and she was wonderful in this movie.
She was great. She was a hoot to be around too. She just loved laughter. Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So she was born in New Jersey. I didn't know that. Just like Romy. I mean, this cast is pretty complete and profound, like on a lot of levels, Tom.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, between Lou and Nasai, the way they go out, off of each other, because the whole story is built on, you have the older brother who the younger brother always looked up to, and now he's watching that slip away as his brother's, going above and beyond he ever could have dreamed of, and just their relationship that struggles there, and then like Rosie, her relationship to both boys and how that works out, and and then Danielle and as Donna, of course, and Rosanna is the mother figure. I mean, just perfect casting. And then of course Joe Pantoliano is Bob Keane. And if you've ever listened to the real Bob Keane talk, Joe nailed it.
Joey Pants.
Yeah, he did a great job. And then of course you had besides of course the great Jeffrey in his role, you had a cavalcade of stars as far as like Rick kicking it off with Rick D's kind of like a almost in an Alan Freeze role, like being like the DJ as the DJ in the movie, and then you had the musicians in the other roles filling in, and it was just a great kind of ensemble. And then you add in the music by and I'm not talking about the Los Lobos music, of course, which is wonderful, but I'm talking about the actual score by Santana and the other individual, I forget his name now, but like just the whole thing come together. It's just I don't think you could have done it better. I really hope they never do try to do it again, because I don't think you can capture it again that way.
Mike Moroff, who played Mexican Ed, I guess he is no longer with us.
Oh no!
But he I remember him in this and in Desperado. I mean, what a character!
Yeah, he's been in a lot of great roles. Yeah.
Wasn't
he also in RoboCop?
Look at that.
We went. Actually, Mike and I were in Spain together doing a miniseries called. It was about the cartel and the American FBI agent or CIA agent, Desperados.
Oh, really? Yes, he was in RoboCop, Tom.
That's right. Yeah, I was gonna say he was the guy in the liquor store who gets the gun bent on him. Yeah.
Hophead. Which one are you talking about, Jeffrey?
Yeah, sorry, Jeffrey.
No, the Drug Wars, right there, the Kiki Camarena story.
Oh, I vaguely I remember that miniseries.
We had to go to Spain to shoot Mexico because it's not reflective positive of Mexico, so they didn't want to shoot in Mexico. So I was very fortunate that we got to go to Spain. I shot in a bull ring in Spain that was supposed to be Mexico.
Wait, who played Kike?
That was Benicio del Toro.
Get out of here!
No, I'm sorry. No. That
Wow.
wasn't Benicio. Benicio played the drug cartel guy. It was
wow.
who did play Kiki Camarena?
This says Stephen Bauer here.
I say Stephen Bauer's the lead
yes,
actor. But
Stephen Bauer.
Oh
Stephen Bauer.
man.
who of course was in Scarface, right?
Right.
Yeah, Manolo. I totally forgot about this one, because Narcos Mexico
Oh yeah.
really kind of
I
like,
vaguely remember it. It was kind of a big deal. I remember when it was on. Yeah.
wow.
But you don't realize is there are a lot of the Valdez family that was in this film playing the little kids. All three of Luis Valdez's kids are in it. Danny's, I think, daughter is in it.
Yeah. Tell us really quickly about Daniel Valdez.
Oh man, what a talent! What a talent! I mean, and he's so humble and so underplay everything. But if you ever get a chance to see him perform musically, it's amazing. He just lost his wife a year and a half ago.
Oh man,
he was another standout in the film too, because he played their uncle, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And he plays in Zutsu. He played Henry Reina. So
he was the actual lead. And then he worked with Linda Ronstadt, correct?
Oh yeah, Canciones de mi Padre, and did the tour. All that, yeah. With Sal and Yerbany, who Paul. Yeah.
Who?
Sal and Yerbany. They were dancers in the performance of Canciones de mi Padre.
Okay. Oh, Sal Lopez?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. And then let's talk about real quick, Tom, and Jeffrey, like some of these character actors that were in the sci-fi world. Jeffrey Allen Chandler played Alan Freed. I guess he's here. He's here in a, what was it, Star Trek?
Looks like that.
Yeah, he played Alan Freed in the one scene.
Yeah, in one scene.
Sam Anderson, amazing actor, played Donna's father. He is the artistic director of the Road Theater Company up in Burbank. In fact, I've done a couple readings this last year and a half with them, and it's always great to catch up to him, and we reminisce a little bit.
He's a pretty prolific character actor as well.
Yes,
he's a great character actor. He's a great character.
He usually plays like the dads, but yeah.
right. And
Tony Gennaro, we don't have with us any longer either. He
played,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Rosie's father. He was fun to watch.
Another one was in a lot. Oh, Tremors. I was going to say
Tremors. Milagro Beanfield.
Mascazaro. It looks like there. Yeah.
Oh, he's great. Man. Well, 1942, huh? Okay. That's not. I'm like, it's a little older than my dad. Okay.
Well, not only that, a lot of Richie's family played bit parts in the movie as well, like sisters and aunts and all that. Yeah, throughout the film in many different spots. Not just his mother, of course. But,
I remember Lou telling me though it was really tough for him on that scene in the airplane at the airport, that the family happened to be there that night, and then they were sort of reliving or reminiscing and getting sad, and Lou's like, I'm trying to do my, I'm trying to stay a character, and these people are, upset and crying, and
I guess what actually happened was they were told not to come to the set that night.
Oh, they were.
And his sister and aunt and somebody else showed up, I think a cousin or something like that. And they got so emotional that they started begging Lou not to get on the plane like he was Richie.
Yeah.
And the one sister literally broke down, I guess, at one point and started like just basically yelling at him, "Why did you get on the plane, Richie?" So I guess it was real cathartic for it was like just kind of, I suppose it was just, it happened. And that's the way the movie portrays it too. Because it's like you're on this ride with this kid, and then all of a sudden, bam, and I'm sure that's the way it felt in real life too, because it just happened, on this, just out of nowhere. And I'm sure that's the way they felt too. Just to have their brother and their, cousin and son and all that kind of stuff taken away from them. So suddenly like that.
Yeah. Lou said it was really tough that night to try to film that scene. It got tougher as the night went on.
So, Hollywood's a funny thing.
Yeah, it is.
we talk about Hollywood every day, Tom.
That's our job. Well,
there's
it's my job anyway.
Right. There's a huge thing now of, trying to get the, let me, how do I say it, Tom? Would Lou Diamond Phillips be cast now as Richie Valens? I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. If we were casting this movie today,
You ask
because
me,
this
the one
cast is
person,
pretty amazing.
the one person who really probably shouldn't answer this, you have to ask, right?
Well, in today's climate, there's no way a non-Latino would be in this role.
Sadly, no. I don't think he
even
would
though
be.
he was maybe the best actor for it.
They went through 500 was the reported number of kids they looked at for the role, and he stood out among them all. And I believe even Connie, the mother herself, was one of the reasons they picked him, because she picked him, I guess. And he even gained some weight for the role too, I guess. I don't know if you know anything about that, Jeffrey, but
yeah, he was not that he was scrawny, but he was definitely a little bit on the thinner side, and he was. We went to dinner, and this was way before we even were in prep, but I was still doing badges, and they were going through this process, and I think he'd just been cast, and then we were going out to dinner, and he was like eating this huge steak, and like about a 3-inch steak. That's what So he definitely put on some weight. But Richie was a big kid. He wasn't, and he looked a lot older than the 16, 17 he was at that time.
Right. And that was the thing, is they said that there was a ton of kids that looked like Richie, but they couldn't act.
Right.
But Lou, who didn't quite look like Richie, but he could act, and he did the best job. And that's, I mean, now, I mean, I don't think he would be. No. And again, I think you guys are probably more better to answer this, but I just.
Here's the thing: we're definitely in. Again, I sort of have this whole feeling in terms of, English actors or Canadian actors playing, American heroes. It's like we don't have enough strong American actors that can portray, people, within our own nation. Let alone, when you get to people of ethnicity, can we not portray ourselves? And it's that double-edged sword, until we're giving these opportunities to, I guess, prove that we can carry a film, or that we're able to carry a film. You have people having to, make these choices as to, do I hold out? Do I do my own thing and just produce my own film so that I can show people that I can carry it? Or, and I look, it goes back and forth, but I think the pendulum is definitely shifting more towards equality and having the right people play the right roles.
Well, you say,
Go ahead, Paul.
yeah, you say that, right? And I'm with you. But then I see something like the TV show Selena, and I love the entire cast except for the lead. It baffles me why this person was picked as Selena. That's just me, right? But doesn't really look like Selena. I heard they had to do like implants, or as far as curves and all that stuff, and just doesn't have that magic that Selena had, right? Lou Diamond captured it. Bob, Isai, their chemistry just took it to another level, right? So, but then again, I know that Selena was executive produced by the family. The sister, was, at the end of the day, it was Suzette Quintanilla who was all, that's her baby, as far as, the production.
Well, again, try not to wear other people's shoes. Decisions have to be made. And
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Jeffrey.
No, he just wants to put me on the spot. No, I'm just kidding.
You're never going to please everybody anyway, no matter what choices are made. Someone's not going to be happy about something.
That's true.
I think ultimately, you've got to do the, hopefully, as we are moving forward, and hopefully coming back to a more central place of equality and undivisiveness, and coming together, and being more respectful of our cultures and what the immigrant brings to this world, and our stories get told in a more positive way. I think that tide will definitely shift more towards the way it should be.
Cavateño Chase says it's not easy when a Filipino American is cast as a Mexican American. Cavateño would know.
Well, hey, look, you go back and watch some of those old westerns and see who were playing the Indians.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
yeah.
And I can't speak for the filmmakers, obviously, and I mean, you could probably maybe either add more to this or decide not to, Jeffrey. But like, I'm assuming that if you look at La Bamba for what it is, because they even said, I remember them saying that they bounced back and forth whether or not Asai or Lou was going to play who,
Right.
as far as the leads at the time, and they just decided, and I think they made the right choice. But if you look at the film overall, considering he is Filipino and not Latino, it's made up of so many great Latino actors that, and not just up in front of the screen, but behind the screen too. There's a lot of people that work behind the scenes as well that I think that makes up for anything that, that any kind of downfalls you could find from that. Like, yeah, now they would make a big fuss about it because 10 years later they made, like you just brought up Selena. Well, 10 years later they made a big fuss about Jennifer Lopez playing her, remember? And I don't remember at the time, Jeff, unless you do it all, anybody saying anything about Lou playing the part. I don't remember there being any big issues at all.
There wasn't any big issues. I think people were, because okay, here's the other side of that coin. Luis Valdez, who is such a strong component of the Chicano movement and standing up for the Chicanos, that
Right.
he didn't cast the Chicano, says something, in and of itself. And what I have to try to tell people is like, look, even you can hold on to your guns for so long, but if you don't have, you're not the person putting up the money, you're not the person you have to make concessions one way or another at some point. And I'm sure he thought long and hard about it, and it probably wasn't an easy choice. But looking back, because you say, okay, if it wasn't, say it was Isai who played that role, would that have helped Isai's career even more back then, and jettisoned him to bigger stuff right away? Lou's had a great career. Could that have gone to another Mexican American actor who played that role? Possibly, possibly not. I cannot tell you that. There's no way I could say whatever trajectory Lou went on after La Bamba would have been the same for another actor. Because the fact is, Lou has been able to play multiple different characters now because of that.
Well, let me just say, Tom and Jeffrey, if Hollywood, if you're listening, if you decide to remake La Bamba, okay, I want Fluffy as Richie Valens, because Fluffy, that's what Richie looked like, hombre. Maybe like Fluffy was a few pounds.
I don't know about that,
but
I don't know who you would cast now. That's the thing. Is like
I just said, Tom.
No. He's too old anyway. That's the other problem you have.
He's got the baby face.
I don't care. No, you'd probably, their best bet would be get an unknown. And honestly, I thought about this long and hard because I knew this question was going to probably come up.
Tom,
and I could not come up with a good answer for that.
Hold that thought in the chat. What do you guys think? Who could play Richie Valens if they redid? Because Hollywood loves to redo everything.
Yeah.
Who could possibly? Is it going to be an unknown, or is there anyone out there right now?
Yeah,
Go on, Tom.
Question.
A couple of years ago, Mario Lopez might have been able to do that.
Quite a few years. No,
Screech. Slater. Sorry.
Slater. Mario wouldn't have been a bad choice. Yeah, many years ago. But I don't know. That's the thing. Everybody's got to remember. He was only 17. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. And Lou was 25 when he played him, but he looked young. And I think to answer the other question, I mean, even though I don't think we can really answer the question, I just don't know if the movie would have worked if it was the other way around, because I just don't. Part of the reason why I think they picked Lou to play Richie is part of it is just he has that boisterous kid in him,
Right.
and that's what everybody said about every interview you ever hear about Richie. Is he was nothing but a bubbly, smiley, lovable, caring kid. Like, he was always, whenever he come in the room, he was smiling and he was always nice to everybody. He was everybody's friend. That's what everybody said about him. And he never was like negative in any way, or any of that kind of stuff. And, I just don't think Asai could have done the same thing that he did as Richie that he did for Bob, and vice versa. Because
Tom, I got my actor. I have my actor.
Who's that? I'm interested.
Xolo.
Sold.
He would be amazing. Xolo, Maridueña, Cobra Kai.
Oh,
the kid playing Miguel Diaz in have you seen Cobra Kai?
No, I have not. So
really,
catch it.
No, but yeah, I'm sold. Yeah, yeah.
So he's very young still, and he's growing up on the TV show, but he's becoming quite the,
I'd hate to have him gain a lot of weight and then have to lose it for Cobra Kai again. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, we're just having fun here.
But you would have to have a good reason. That's the thing, is I just don't know.
No, I really don't want them to remake it, but I'm just saying Hollywood just,
Well, there's certain things should not be remade, because
Selena shouldn't have been remade, but yet they're, it took me a while to really fall in love with the Selena movie, and it's really good, and it was a good testament, and that's it. But anyways,
no, I look at it this way though, like with Selena, I mean, it's a bit newer. The family's still around. They can make the choice. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Mal see the 1904 says somebody give Xolo some churros and horchata stack
and some noodles. No, but like I really think that with La Bamba, that the way the movie captured it, and the fact that a lot of the people that actually knew Richie are no longer with us, that it's probably best to just let that be his legacy. Because that's the last thing that'll have his mother's seal of approval on it, and some of his other family members, like I said, that are no longer with us. And, you had Bob and so many other people that were involved on that I just don't think it's right now, especially since we lost Bob a few years back here too. He couldn't even give his 2 cents on it anymore. And yeah, because you even hear a lot of his sisters and stuff talk. They were pretty young at the time, and they don't really remember much from that period. So yeah.
And then the other side, like what Derek Davey said, I think it's a good thing to introduce more people to Richie Valens' story, a whole new generation. I think it's crazy to even think this. I mean, because La Bamba is such a great film. But
re-release it. They did a few years back.
Re-release it. Oh,
yeah,
that'd be nice, Jeffrey.
Remind me, Jeffrey. I was going to say, was it for the 20th or 25th anniversary?
Yeah, we did it at Plaza de Cultura y Artes y Cultura down in the Olvera Street. We did a little screening and get together.
Did it make its screens all over the country as well?
It did a limited screening, I believe. Yes, yeah.
That I'm not aware of, but
anything that, I mean, Tom, this is Tom's job. Tom runs a great channel, Jeffrey, and
yeah, because it was right around the same time that Columbia was doing like a whole bunch of stuff. They did one for Ghostbusters. They did one for La Bamba. I think they did one for maybe Stand By Me, and a couple other those movies from that same period there that were hitting their anniversaries at that point. Karate Kid, I think, kicked it off originally, but yeah.
Paul, if I can just say one last thing too, that when I worked with Taylor Hackford on Blood and Blood Out, which he directed, I asked that question because that we weren't all Mexicanos or Mexican Americans that were cast to play La Onda, and I wanted to make sure going in, because some of the other Latinos spoke with a Puerto Rican accent or a Cubano accent, and they can't say güero, they say huedo, and to me as a moviegoer and even as someone who listens to that stuff can pick that out and go, that dude is not Mexican. He can't even say güero, And so I asked Taylor, I said, hey, are we Mexican American gang, group, or are we a Latino? And so he knew what he was getting into, and he more homogenized it so that it wasn't, even though it's based on Emma and more of those guys, but so that way it melded these ethnicities, and so it wouldn't come off wrong. Because one thing I don't like to see is, you know, sort of different ethnicities trying to play the other ethnicity and not coming across, you know, right. So.
Well, I mean, I guess
Absolutely.
that's a great question I have on that part. It's coming from my perspective. Like, looking at the film in hindsight now, like in comparison to the way we view things now as society, I mean, is the movie actually culturally sensitive enough to put a word in quotations?
Mm.
Do you think for today's audience, or would it not fly at all? I mean, beyond the Lou Diamond Phillips part. I mean, just the part you brought up, because I mean, I can imagine that a lot of people would take it many different ways nowadays compared to the way they did then as a general audience.
I think, you know, you get past the Lou Diamond thing, and like I said, I think the story has so much heart. So many people poured their hearts into it, is what made it, you know, have such a life, I think. And I don't know if it would be as big of an issue, but you know, it's hard to sort of second guess that on my part.
Right. Well, you just watched it recently, Paulie. Did you find anything that stuck out to you in the way that we normally kind of review things nowadays?
Sorry, I just wanted to bring
No.
up Blood. Yes, I'm trying. Yeah, this photo's too big. Sorry about that, guys. But this is Blood In, Blood Out. There's to the far left, Danny. I think that's Danny Trejo.
That's Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
You're right there in the middle.
Baby Danny Trejo. Look at him.
Yeah, and then the great Kiki Castillo, as I always get their last names wrong. Montana or Santana? Montana.
He's Montana.
Yeah.
Santana is the other film, but you know the funny thing is it's the same film, just two different casts. It's the same writer. There's one writer who has credit on both films, and yet.
Oh, is that right? Is that right?
Well, what happened? The story I heard was that Eddie and Taylor had a disagreement about how they wanted to. You know, Eddie wanted to make an anti-gang film. Taylor wanted to tell this family story. In fact, we had over 5 hours of film and this was just the first version. This wasn't even the second film that they had in mind. In fact, there's a whole storyline, Benjamin Bratt's girlfriend, that whole thing got cut out. He's not even in the film.
It's in the trailer.
Is it in the trailer?
It's in the trailer. And I always defer to that. It's like, hey, he had a girlfriend.
There was a whole love story side, you know, another, you know, so
which makes sense, you know. But anyways.
It was in two different camps. People either love American Me and hate Blood In, Blood Out, or they love Blood In, Blood Out and hate American Me. There's no one in the middle who kind of goes, oh, I love them both. And I go, it's the same film.
I did not know that, really, now that you mentioned
but
that.
Eddie's was more of an he was trying to make it more of an anti-gang film. Hey, where's Bernie? Have you seen the latest meme? Bernie's in the middle there at the bottom with
That's right. That's right. This is the classic photo. There you are.
I love that.
This is
butter
classic.
knife. Yeah, before he was machete, that's butter knife. I like
That's butter knife. That's not
quite
machete.
machete yet.
I'll tell you, it's a wake-up call. If you ever get a chance to be in prison where you're not locked up overnight, it's definitely an eye-opener. You definitely don't even want to jaywalk after you spend a day in a 10 by 10 cell and not being able to go out for any length of time. It's definitely an eye-opener, spending time in a jail or prison when you're not in it.
Yeah.
We need to bring you back, and we need to do a Blood In, Blood Out retrospective.
Hey, let me know. Get Raymond and Valente and see who else I can maybe wrangle up and bring out.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah, don't tempt us with a good time.
Well,
yeah,
let's talk.
You know what? I tell you what. You get the cast. We'll have you on. And I'm speaking for Tom. We'll have you on Tom's show.
I'm sure I could arrange that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm speaking for Listen, the Latino Slant your home, but Tom's like
All right, let's talk about it.
He's big time. You had asked me. You'd asked me, Tom, if I had just recently seen La Bamba, and does it?
Still resonate? Like a lot of the things that we with today's kind of culture and today's eyes in quotations. Was there anything that stood out to you that would probably come off as insensitive?
You know, no.
Then that
It's
settles it. Re-release it.
yeah,
You don't need to remake it.
yeah. No. It's you're right, and you're right. And I just brought it up just as a fun talking piece. Um, Fluffy and maybe Sholo, but just knowing Hollywood. But there are other films in that era that did a really bad job of casting.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, and as you just brought in, the movie we just talked Blood In, Blood Out, like another one that's overlooked. Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of films and a lot of periods that have come out prior to this that are just so overlooked nowadays. I feel like.
Well, even that same year, a year before or after the Milagro Beanfield War, cast an Italian American as a Chicano from in New Mexico.
Right.
Yeah, that was
well, at least East LA had Cheech. I mean, and it had Jeffrey. And a lot of other folks. So.
But Jeff, dude, thank you for your time. Thanks for you're with us for a long time, and we really appreciate it, man.
Well,
yeah, thank you so much. It was an honor meeting you.
No, it's my pleasure. I always enjoy having these little conversations and reminiscing a little bit and giving a little more inside information, to the things that went on. It's sometimes there's stories within stories within stories that people don't know about till way later after things were done. So.
Well, and sadly, this movie needs a new release. It was only done in a limited release in a Blu-ray stateside with some special features, but otherwise it's only available outside of the U.S. I don't know why they haven't, but it's prime for a 4K re-release. If you're
Let me call Taylor and Luis Valdez right now and see.
Yeah, let's get on this. We need to get to see those deleted scenes. We need a new audio commentary with Jeffrey and the gang. Come on, get on it.
Let's do it. Let's have Jeffrey, Taylor, and all the
an
crazy
actual. Hey, I'll tell you what. If they actually are on for it, I'll produce a making of documentary for very cheap. All you got to do is help me pay for whatever it is I got to get to video cameras and whatnot. That's all I'm worried about. I'll take care of the rest. So it needs it. It's a movie that I feel like has not gotten enough love. People forget that it was a big hit. It was only a $6 million movie that made over $50 million. I mean, with inflation, that's probably more like almost 200 million today. So, I mean, even for a little movie like that, that's just crazy. I mean, like we just brought up Bohemian Rhapsody earlier too. I mean, to me, like I said, I feel like that was a movie that was overlooked so much when people were talking about Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm like, hey, what about La Bamba? Everybody forgot about La Bamba. It was such a great movie, but yeah.
The chat's going off. Loving you, Jeff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
I could try and pull. I don't know if I could get a hold of Lou Diamond or not. You could probably get a hold before I could. I don't know on that one.
Well, I mean, if we're doing a reunion like this, it has to be on a bigger platform, and the Slant is up and coming. But Tom, you have the bigger platform.
If you could help make it happen, especially, I could definitely work on that. That's for sure. That I could definitely make happen
because it deserves it too. You know what I'm saying? Jeff. I mean,
absolutely.
Tom's outreach is thousands and thousands of people. They have a great show.
He's making
every day.
me sound bigger than I am, but
no, you're fantastic, bro.
The main channel does have almost 200,000 subscribers, yes, but it's not that big of a channel.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, and let's work on the Blood In, Blood Out one. Let's see if we can make that happen.
That'd be cool. Maybe we can do that. Then we can work on the other one too. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Jeffrey, I'll reach out. Thank you, and
thank you to all the listeners and to all the comments. Thank you. I appreciate it for the support. And again, something that if I don't know if you guys say this all the time, but if you see something on TV, especially TV, or because it's a lot harder for the films and things, write to those TV stations, write to those producers. If you see a character, a Latino character that's positive, whatever, write, because those letters count. And if you want to see more representation of people like who you want to see yourself reflected on the screen, that's going to help, and that's going to do it.
Such a great point, man. There you go. All right, everyone. The great Jeffrey Rivas.
Good night,
Bamba. Good night, my love. All right. Have a good night, brother.
Thank you.
Okay, peace. Wow.
That was awesome. He was awesome.
Yeah. That was
I was gonna ask him if he could sing a couple bars of "Oh Charlena," but
he's still there. He's still there.
I'm kidding. He doesn't have
you know
to.
what?
I want to embarrass him. Jesus.
Let's save it. But wouldn't that be dope if he got the cast together?
That would be awesome. Yeah, and both fronts, like I said, yeah. I mean, I've got, of course, a little bit more love for La Bamba, but Blood
Mhm.
In, Blood Out is one I haven't seen in a while. But I definitely jump back on that one.
Blood In, Blood Out has become the memeable and quote, kind of over the top Chicano quoted
Right.
gangster film. I loved it. I loved it. And American Me was just very hard to watch. It was very it was a little too
See, I vaguely remember that one. I
Mhm.
remember that one being the bigger deal at the time when it came out. But like, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen them.
Yeah. Let's just get to one. We did have another super chat, another tip come in. Thank you, Eric K. Muchísimas gracias, Eric K. He says, another great Latino slant stream. All right. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. We haven't even, I don't know how much longer
Didn't
we
even
have.
touch on the soundtrack. Yeah,
We didn't even touch on the soundtrack or Los Lobos.
Yeah. But well, I mean, they are half the soundtrack. Let's be real.
Yeah. So up until this point, Los Lobos was kind of like a very, they were making inroads and kind of like the rock and country scenes with their first two albums. But this was international. It put them on on a global map. And
yeah, absolutely.
And we saw it in the pre-show, when they got so big with this that they decided after La Bamba, they decided to do an all Spanish album called La Pistola y el Corazón, just so they can kind of like pull back from the fame that they'd gotten from La Bamba, I don't know if you ever heard of that album, but that's a fantastic album.
I'm trying to remember, but I mean, I know some of the other stuff they've done for sure, but like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and even when Richie auditioned for the Silhouettes, and he sang "Rip It Up," Little Richie's "Rip It Up." That's David Hidalgo's voice.
Right.
That's David Hidalgo's voice, and David, an incredible guitar player, an incredible accordion player. These guys could do it all as far as Los Lobos. What? And I've been hearing it recently. It still has, the other songs are still pretty good. I think the Brian Setzer cover is just my favorite of those that aren't Los Lobos.
Summertime Blues. Yeah. I mean, well, funnily enough, when I played it the other night, I don't know if you heard when I said it, like, that's the version of the song that I know most. Like, I mean, of course, eventually over the years, I heard the Eddie Cochran version and other versions, but growing up, that's the version I always heard in commercials. And of course, I remembered it from the soundtrack that I heard a million times. But yeah, funnily enough about Los Lobos, quick back to them, they hit #1 with La Bamba, something that Richie didn't do. Oddly
Correct.
enough. He hit #2, but they actually hit #1 with that song, which was kind of a milestone, I guess, in and of itself. But and the album, of course, is still a huge soundtrack album in a year chock full of other ones. I mean, the only soundtrack maybe bigger that year, I think, would be Dirty Dancing, probably.
Yeah, that's a big one. That was a big one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, outside of that, I'm imagining, without looking it up, that La Bamba soundtrack had to be easily the second biggest soundtrack of that year. It would have been the biggest probably any other year. But there you go. Yeah.
There it is. I remember loving just the photos that they picked.
I don't have this version. What version is this? This must be a
That's like-
remaster.
This is like the back of the
This is
of
not
vinyl.
the back of the one that I have.
This might be the back of. Let me see where
This looks like a remaster. It says copyright 1999 on it. Yeah, that must be a remastered one. I don't have. Now I got to find it. I must.
Side one, side must. Album cover art. No, this is it. Yeah, it must be remastered.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a little different.
But I love those photos, man. I love the top right photo of him hugging the guitar.
Yeah,
I
that
always
was
love that.
Well, all these are of course, a lot of the photos at the time, but yeah, that one especially I remember quite a bit. But I mean, look at this soundtrack. Like I said, La Bamba went to number one. Come On, Let's Go. Their version is still heard to this day in promos and stuff. Like when I worked in the radio station I worked at, we actually used their version of the song for the Brewers promos.
Really?
Yeah, that was like the theme song for the Brewers for years. So like I'm sure they had made a little bit of money off that. But yeah, and then I think Donna and a few other ones I know, We Belong Together also hit the charts.
Oh, I love that song.
12. I think Summertime Blues hit the top 10.
We Belong Together.
I love Crenshaw's version of Crying, Waiting, Hoping.
Yeah, very raw. I mean, like the Buddy Holly one is really different.
Good, but it's like, yeah, it's very different. But I actually like Crenshaw's version. I wouldn't say more, but it's one of those remakes that I actually enjoy quite a bit. Same thing with Summertime Blues. And yeah,
it really is a cover. It really is like it's like it sounds like it, and yet it doesn't. Especially like the driving the drums and the bass are just like
Well, that's where they did a great job with this soundtrack, and not only getting the people they worked on it with, but casting the individuals in those parts. I mean, look, like Crenshaw, like looks like Buddy Holly.
yeah. I
even
wasn't
more than fucking excuse my language, and even more than what's his face Gary Busey did in the Buddy Holly story, I would say.
Gary Busey was a mess on that one. Yeah.
He's good, but yeah, Crenshaw actually looks like Buddy Holly. You put those pictures together, and then same thing with what's his face. God, the name just escaped me. He sings "Lonely Teardrops."
Jackie Wilson,
the guy that got playing him from I can't remember the band he's in, but like and then of course Brian Setzer. I mean, come on, I mean he looks almost like the spitting image. And then his version, like you said, is kind of the same thing with Crenshaw's. It's like they picked the perfect person not only for the sound but the look, and his version of it is a cover, but it still captures the original, in such a way. But it has its own spin, like because the guitars are much more grungier, and this soundtrack from beginning to end is one of those few albums that I can listen to the entire thing from beginning.
Yeah, to end. And the thing with Crying is that it's a very modern rock beat, and yet it sounds retro.
Exactly.
I could hear that song right now. There's Jackie Wilson,
and he sounds just like Jackie.
He sounded like him. I never thought he looked like him. And I don't know if you've gotten to see the film One Night in Miami.
Howard Huntsberry, that's his name. Howard
Huntsberry.
Yeah.
There's another Jackie Wilson scene where he sings that song in the movie, and it's great. It's one of my favorite movies of the year.
No, I didn't know about that, but I do know that he, of course, oddly enough, a couple years later did the version of Higher and Higher for Ghostbusters 2.
Oh God, that's hilarious.
Doing Jackie Wilson again. So there you go.
Oh my God. Well, that's funny. So let me start again. So, because no, don't be silly. It's One Night in Miami, and I want to talk about this movie some more. The scene is Malcolm X telling of the fifth time he saw Sam Cooke perform in Chicago, and how Jackie Wilson screwed him over. It's a cool little rock and roll history. Like Jackie Wilson paid the guy to take his sound off.
Oh no!
While Sam Cooke was singing, and and this is told through Malcolm X, that saying Jackie Wilson's up there chucking and jiving, and then here comes Sam Cooke with his soothed voice. but he still sings. He does something with the audience. Anyways, I was like, that guy playing Jackie Wilson, that guy looks like Jackie. But I always think it's cool, when you see these different movies playing, these different artists, that these like Gary Busey, Marshall Crenshaw, they're playing these, different versions of your rock and roll heroes and shit like that.
Well, the thing that's funny is, unlike the ones we just talked about, Richie, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of footage of him available, as I'm sure you realize when you're putting together your intro. There's not a lot of footage, not a lot of audio. Very little exists, and yet when you mention his name, most people think of Lou Diamond Phillips, I'm sure. So, I mean, again, it's kind of going back to the should they remake it or do another version of it or readapt it, whatever you want to call it. I don't think so, but if they were to, they'd really have to work hard to find a kid who looks just like him and can play the part, and really dive deep into the story, I guess, a little bit more, and be like as accurate as they could, I guess. That's the only reason I could see him trying to do it again.
Yeah, you see these images of the real Richie Valens, and he was a big boy, just like what Jeffrey was saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you'd have to find somebody who could fit the role and be kind of that personification, because like I said, unfortunately, unlike Elvis and Buddy Holly and a lot of these other guys, we don't have a lot of visual, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is one of the few pictures, or what I know I was an oxymoron. One of the few pictures that are out there of him.
What's one of the best quality?
Exactly. Like there's
best
not
quality, and he had a great look. He had a great look, man. This guy was.
They made him put on some lipstick there, but yeah. I believe this is from one of his cover shoots.
My God, you cracked me up, boy.
Isn't this the cover of his first album or close to it? So this has got to be from
now. Here's a photo. I'm gonna grab this photo because this photo looks more like a cousin of mine. Yeah, that's like more of from a photo shoot of an album.
I believe that's the same. Yeah, either the same pose or close to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason why I would say nowadays, why redo it, is that it's a completely new generation, and he was a rocker, man. This is a great story, great American story, great American story. Let me see where this photo's at.
Yeah. And that's really hit home with the father. That's, we don't see the father, of course, but Steve is very present in the movie, and he's talked about constantly, and especially in that fight scene, the last fight scene between Richie and Bob, where, Bob's like, giving him shit still about his name. And he's like, fuck that, because Steve was, gung ho, everything American. He would have been totally on board with all this stuff. So it is a very American story at the same time.
Absolutely. It was decorated war hero, Steve Valenzuela.
World War I, yeah.
Amazing that those brothers, God, that was just incredible.
Well, they're the bedrock of the film, and like I say many times over, that movie is just as much Bob's as it is Richie's. And I could see why Jeffrey would say, I didn't know that, but I'd love to see that version of the film. Where it is kind of leaning a bit more, because let's be real, Bob is the more complicated character. For
cinematic purposes, cinematic purposes, absolutely.
He's the sunshine in these people's lives, and you can tell that. But maybe if you were gonna redo it, that's how you could do it better, is by giving it more from Bob's point of view, because there's probably a lot of stuff out there you could get, interviews with Bob, and just kind of seeing, maybe even keeping Richie at that kind of distant level of, he's that shining star and Bob is just left behind in the dust of the star, kind of thing.
Well, listen, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna redo it, maybe do it as a limited series,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right. And you get to let's show the father, let's show Steve, let's show them as kids.
Yeah, I would like to see more of their life, definitely.
That'd be really cool. And let's not forget, Connie was you talk about strong female character. Jesus, She was wonderful.
Oh yeah, definitely a matriarch on top of, I would love to have seen more of what, like I said, to even just kind of see, because Bob gives us a little bit of insight, in that story. He's like, he set you up for, for success, and he gave me nothing and gave me shit. He gave me the leftovers, and I was happy to have it because I loved him. He treated me like a dog, but I still loved him. I mean,
goddamn dog.
Yeah, I know. Oh God, it just gets to me now. Watching this movie tonight, and it's been a couple of years since I've watched it, maybe 2-3 years. I mean, and I've watched I don't know how many billion times, but there was just certain elements because I was just watching it, and this time around just to kind of pinpoint things for this conversation, and just I found myself engrossed in certain performances and certain scenes, and that's one of them. And yeah, Cy could just
very emotional. I got very emotional.
He got me goosebumps quite a few times in the movie. Just the way he pulls that performance, because you feel it. I mean, you feel it through him, and it's like I said, as much as Richie is the heart of the film, Bob is the soul. I mean, we're really seeing a lot of it through his eyes. I mean, we see the film. He's the first character we see. He's the last character we see if you don't count the reprise of La Bamba. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of like, how do we close the credits,
Right. And I got a bitch about the new DVD and Blu-ray. Well, I would not new, but they've been out for years. For some reason, they changed the credits on the newer releases. And this might have been from that re-released version that came out that we were just talking about. Because the original version of the credits after the La Bamba performance, the music dies. There is no music. The credits are dead silent on the original version.
No score, no nothing.
Nothing. For that reason, I believe that's what the director was going for. But for some reason, in the re-releases, they added "Come On, Let's Go," and I just always to me that felt proper to end it with no music, because it's a movie about music.
Yeah,
and to have the credits, which are traditionally music, be silent. You know what I mean?
Great,
kind of just the music died. It was kind of like that. I got that from the director very early on in my life. And that was jarring to me when I got the DVD, and all of a sudden, "Come On, Let's Go" kicks on right after La Bamba.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait.
Yeah, no. After La Bamba, do the score and the credits.
Well, there's nothing after the original. Yeah, it's just blank. They just play the credits, and that's it.
Yeah, because when they bring on the La Bamba, when he performs again, it's the Los Lobos full version. In the movie, when he's performing, it's still David's voice, but the mix is different.
Yeah, it's a different mix of La Bamba. Yes,
it's a different mix. You don't hear the band like the modern rock band. When Isai has his moment, and then they bring up the retro, it's the rock. It's a Los Lobos version. Boom, and it's very powerful because it almost slaps you back, because you're like just bummed out, and it's like let's
Yeah, you need that. You need that to lift you up. But then I like that, like I said, how after that song, the original credits roll with no music, which is great. But speaking of Santana's score, that's one thing that has never been released, and that is a fucking travesty.
Well,
I don't understand why it hasn't in a separate album. I mean, come on.
We need to ask Andy Vargas about that.
We should.
Because was there ever a score released of Desperado? Because
Desperado, I don't know, maybe.
Because he did the score as well. For Santana did the Desperado score.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you on that one. I don't. I have the soundtrack, I think, but I don't think it's the score. I think it's just it might have bits of the score on it.
Yeah, those are good questions, man. Yeah, I mean,
but no, La Bamba is just the straight pop soundtrack. They never released the score album.
Yeah.
Now the Blu-ray version that I was talking about, that if you're lucky enough to own, because there was only 3,000 released,
Do you have one?
No, I actually, well, you do now. I ordered one. I paid way too much for it, but it was just because I have to have it. It's just, I've been dealing with that was part of the reason I'm sick and tired of dealing with my Regent 2 Blu-ray. Like I couldn't pay it my one regular player. And so I just went and bought it, because that's the one thing that's on it that's not on my Blu-ray, is it's got the isolated score. So I could technically make my own version of the soundtrack off that if I wanted to.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it does have the isolated score, because it never has been released.
On the on what you saw, what are there any extras Is there anything?
And those extras are all on the other version that I just ordered, but it's those extras are just I think they're all the same stuff that was on the DVD from years before, which is just some EPK stuff, which is like behind the scenes stuff that came out when the movie came out, which is just some quick little 5-minute like kind of trailer behind the scene things. And then the 2 videos for one for La Bamba and one for Lonely Teardrops, and then the 2 audio commentaries. But again, I think those were all on the DVD. I'm not sure if they were or not. But
so I forgot, but when we talked about Lobos going #1 with La Bamba,
yeah.
So they hadn't been in the top, like their albums haven't been back in the top 10 for decades, and they did a Christmas album last year, and it was the first time they were back in the top 10.
Well, now, didn't they do a song with like Uncle Cracker or somebody like that a couple of years back too? Though I'm trying to think, who was it? I thought they did a song. Somebody that was
this Christmas album is amazing. It's now it's the second year now that it's been out, but it hit the charts, and there was a whole article about it, like first time since La Bamba.
Really?
Damn. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose on their own, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a Christmas album, and they had a really couple of cool bilingual singles that kind of caught on, kind of like that La Bamba feel, like they did Mañanitas, they did Christmas in Texas. Yeah, kind of like regional popular songs. But yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Because I've really have followed Los Lobos since the 90s, and they're a touring band. That's how they make their money. So that's why would they need to go number? Why would they? They don't need a chart. They've never needed a chart. It means
got a #1 hit. So
yeah, they're set. And we talked to Bugs about your Mexican Iron Man brought up how come they're not in the Hall of Fame? And of course Bugs is saying it's like the Golden Globes. It's who you pay and it's politics. It's all bullshit. And
maybe someday.
Yeah, but that's crazy that they're how long they've been at it, since the 70s. So but yeah, man, any other angles on this movie?
Gosh, I mean, the thing is, it's such a lightning in a bottle.
Let me ask you this, just like like some of our favorite music biopics,
this is definitely up there as mine. It might be my favorite.
I love Coal Miner's Daughter as well.
That's a good one. I am a big fan of biopics. If we're talking, are we talking just musical biopics? Then between this and
I think so. Because
between this and probably, I loved Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody the last couple of years. Those were very well done. Even though Bohemian Rhapsody is even more so off as far as like accuracy, it still works. It reminds me, and that's why I brought up La Bamba a lot when that movie came out. I'm like, it reminds me of La Bamba and the Doors, in a sense that, and the Doors would probably be another one of my favorites. Where it may not be artistically accurate, it may not be historically accurate, but it's very artistically accurate. Like, it very much captures who these personas were, even if it wasn't exactly the way things went down.
Yeah, tell us in the chat, guys, your favorite musical biopics. Let's
even
go.
though La Bamba is pretty close from what I've been, when I'm doing my research, as best as they could. I mean, of course, there's some little things here and there, but even the real Bob has said that the movie captures about 95% of reality, he feels. So
I remember when the movie came out, the MTV had their the premiere on, and they had it live on the network on MTV, right? Of course, what's that?
Which is strange, because I don't know how they managed to catch this, as far as like, I mean, let's be real, looking at it from the perspective of the Latino Slant, which is the channel. I mean, at any time before or since, has there really been a movie besides maybe Selena that has such a very, like I said, Latino slant, not to be punny, in the film itself, that was promoted the way it was, because it was. Everybody got behind this movie. It was a big deal when it happened. I mean,
it was a sleeper hit. It was a darling.
yeah, I mean, and like you said, MTV promoted the hell out of it. I'm sure that was part of the reason the soundtrack, sold so well. Great Balls of Fire was another good one brought up by 70s rock fan, but I think that one really ignores a lot of the true story. But
really fast, hold on to that thought. So there, you could see the special, the MTV Live special, Los Lobos performing, Marshall Crenshaw performed, and he was kind of dressed all modern, so I was like, oh man, it looks different. But then they brought him Bob Morales, and they were interviewing the real Bob, and he was he was tipsy, and they was like, how did the movie do? And he's like, they got it 101%.
Okay, well, his 90 to 95% was a few years ago, like just before he died. So, like, I'll go with that one, because that was a sober Bob. But basically, from what I know, Isai captured him as best he could, like out down to his mannerisms and everything, voice, because he actually had him there to work with. And he spent a lot of time with the real Bob to get all that stuff. Like he said, that head tilt and everything, that's all Bob.
Well, see, and going back to that, Isai's not Mexican.
Right.
He's East Coast, I believe Puerto Rican. But that man can do Chicano like I don't know what. And that performance was just like, it was like looking at my cousin Benny.
Well, it's because he actually had the real guy to work off of. And he, like I said, he spent a lot of time with Bob, and Bob was on set all the time to where he was one of the few people he could actually go to the actual counterpart and go, what would you do here? What did you do here? Or what did you say here? How did you feel here? And, and he could actually had the mannerisms down, the voice down, everything, he tried to capture every element of Bob. And of course, everybody says he did a great job capturing Bob, even though Bob was much more of a nightmare than he was shown on screen. And that's probably where Jeffrey was coming from, as far as like, where they're probably wanting to tell Rosie's side of the story, because she is a very interesting character. Because even though the way she's portrayed in the movie is much different than what she's in real life, because she didn't have like the little love triangle thing with Richie. That wasn't a real thing.
Right.
I mean, and she was a big part of the family and all that, though. So like, and obviously the mother to Bob's first child and all that kind of crap. So I mean, there's a lot, that probably could be pulled from that story. I don't deny that.
Put it back in, so put that in the television series.
But like again, I'd hate it to be just something to sit there and bash on Bob, especially now that he's gone. That's the other thing. Because like the guy, I mean, I have a feeling the way they would portray him in that show, because yes, he was probably worse than what they showed him in the movie at that time. But he has really come around. I mean, he cleaned his act up. He became a family man later in life. I mean, from everything everybody said about him afterwards is, he completely turned himself around. And he was one of the most giving, caring, wonderful guys you could ever meet. And this guy was be a real biker gang member. That's the point. Like, I mean, he was a hard ass. I mean, the way they portray him in the movie is very glamorized in a lot of ways.
We got some thoughts here. Dewey Cox story.
Dewey Cox story.
I'm like, I don't know if that would count
for a 15-year-old with kids.
Great Balls of Fire is getting a lot of love.
It is good, but that one's probably one of the more historically inaccurate ones, because I know they scrubbed a lot of that one up. But
Walk the Line.
Walk the Line was all right. I was never a fan of Joaquin playing Johnny Cash, though, and that's just my own personal thing. I just don't feel like when I'm watching the movie I'm seeing Johnny Cash. I see Joaquin Phoenix. So
I love Backbeat.
Backbeat's a good one. That's about the Beatles before they were big.
Is that the one where they show the young John Lennon?
Yeah. Well, it's one of the many that they've done about young John Lennon.
So I'm thinking of one I saw a few years ago. It had Aaron Johnson as John Lennon.
No, I don't think that's this one then. No, this one came out in late 80s, early 90s, I want to say.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's been a while.
It's about like before they got Ringo and all that kind of stuff. Before
the Aaron Johnson one is fantastic.
Yeah, they've done some good ones on the Beatles.
That was a beautiful film, man. The Doors is a BS film according to the other band members. Oh, okay.
Some of it. The thing with the Doors, from what I gather, is here's the thing with the Doors. You got to remember when the other band members gripe about the movie. They were more upset at that time, from what I gathered, that the movie was more revolved around Jim Morrison. And I hate to be the guy to tell him, as I'm sure nobody else has the balls to tell him, sorry guys, but Jim Morrison was the only one really anybody cared about in the band.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are great. You're the Doors. So don't get me wrong.
We're gonna be real.
If you're gonna tell a story about somebody, it's the same kind of thing as La Bamba. You know, even though there's no band involved with Richie, I mean, it's kind of the Jim Morrison story, really. If you break it down, I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, and a lot of that shit that happened in that movie did actually happen. It was, you know, it's a bit twisted, but it, you know, and it does kind of tell one side of the story. That's true, but yeah, I think the band members are more jealous than anything. But I'll leave that there.
I mean, it was Val Kilmer at the height of his powers too, man. He was fantastic. The Thing You Do is a great dramatization of the industry.
It's a bit saccharine and satirical, but it definitely is, yeah.
Yeah, that was all right. Yeah, that was all right. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I think that La Bamba did a great job of capturing that period, and I don't know if they could do it better. I really don't. I know we keep asking that question, but
yeah. I think I think this one should just they should leave it alone.
Oh, the other one I kept thinking of too that I forgot to bring up when Jeffrey was here was Straight Outta Compton. Was another one just recently too that I felt like borrowed a lot from La Bamba in a lot of ways. Just the whole straightforward, we're going to tell this story like this, a dramatized version of it. Yeah,
that was a really good movie. That was really good.
Yeah. Like, you still feel the echoes, like, because like I said, you go watch even Coal Miner's Daughter, you watch Buddy Holly's Story, all these movies that were prior to La Bamba, and they were kind of like this TV movie of the week kind of feel to them. They hit some of the main points. You got kind of a story out of it. But La Bamba really dug down in, and I would say, like, you take that even aside from let's just say it's not based on a true story. It's a damn good movie. Like, just put together as a movie. Because everything is there, whether it was like, because just in that first scene, you meet Bob. You get everything you need to know about Bob. You see the situation that Connie's in. You see the life that Richie's family was brought up in. You get so much
rags to riches story, which you can make up the. He doesn't have to be Richie Valens. He's just
that's what I'm saying.
He dies tragically. Yeah.
Just in the story structure alone, the story does. And somebody said it earlier in the chat that La Bamba does not waste any moment. And no, that's the thing is, it is a tight, very well put together film without it even being a true story. Like, if you just said, "Oh, this is a movie that I made," and it wasn't about anybody, I would say that's a great movie. You know, if it was just about some, made up character.
And I think that's what I got when I saw it again. I hadn't seen it in years. I'm like, oh my God, the storytelling's killer. Like, like everything is it's almost like, like Cobra Kai storytelling, it's like everything's on point. Everyone's on point. It's like, wow, this is great. What are some of the worst music biopics?
Well, it looks like Girthy's going to say The Doors, but I understand where he's coming from, and even if he's talking to Robbie personally, I know there's other people who have documented and said things, and I get it. The way Oliver told that story, he was telling an acid trip. I mean, and he's using the story of The Doors to tell it to you. And I get that completely. It's completely out of whack in a lot of things, and characters are amalgamized. Events are very loosely played. But The Doors is much like La Bamba in a sense that it's a well put together film. It's not historically accurate, but it's very artistically accurate. Same thing with Bohemian Rhapsody. I could rip that movie apart. There's so many things that are wrong in it. And it's like, but it works. It works as an hour and 2 hour movie or whatever it is, just like La Bamba is. Yeah, did those event like Bob said, those exact words? He's like, did those things happen in that order? No, not exactly. He goes, but it pretty much captures that moment in time and who Richie was and who I was at that time and what we
Right.
were going through as a family. And that's where I compare it to the Godfather, because it's a snapshot of a period in the history. In this case, not an Italian family, but a Latino, American Mexican family, actually,
Yeah.
I should say, and just the way that Richie, like I said, signified, what could be if, you had the ambition and the goal to go beyond, what you could see is what your place in life is, basically, which is what Bob is, what Bob signifies. He doesn't have the ambition to go above and beyond his state.
Well, he's got the talent, right?
He's
They
got
gave
the
him
talent.
Yeah.
But he, and they have that scene, and that scene I was just talking about earlier, where Richie basically tells him, he goes, I'm sick and tired of hearing that bullshit. And he goes, maybe it's me is the one who needs to tell you this, but maybe if you weren't drunk all the time, you wouldn't be this way, and you would, get somewhere in life, basically. I'm paraphrasing now, but that's kind of what he's saying. And Bob did get, he got into art, I guess, a lot more. And didn't he eventually take those classes and stuff that he won? I can't remember exactly. I don't know if you know more, but I know he did continue to do art and do other things throughout life. Like, that was true. He was a good artist,
Well, that definitely sounds like he sobered up his life.
He did. Yeah. And he met he did get remarried and all that kind of stuff, but he had more kids.
And he really became a great community, like a pillar in this community. Which is not an easy thing to do.
No. And that's I think that needs to be stressed because of the way he's portrayed in the film. I mean, and he is a tragic character in a lot of ways. And I think it does need to be stressed that he did kind of, Girthy, what's love got to do with it? That's another one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, did La Bamba didn't get any nominations
I
at
don't
all, right?
think so, but it should have. Isai should have for sure.
Isai, I mean, that performance was just.
Let me look here.
I'm looking here. I think you guys got best music video bullshit.
Nominated for a Golden Globe. But no, nothing Oscar. Well, I can't even believe the Oscars didn't go after the soundtrack even, but I guess there's no original songs on it, so they won't. Yeah.
It got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, which
But that's Lobos.
Yeah. I can't believe that Bob didn't get nominated. That Isai didn't get nominated for playing Bob. That's crazy.
Very strange. Maybe it was seen as too commercial, wasn't because drama back then was still like the Oscars was still very like drama.
No, which is sad though, because if you did this movie now, I bet you it would get all the awards.
Right. That's like saying like the back in the day, like movies like Chariots of Fire as opposed to Raiders of the Lost Ark. All those commercial action films and even this, they weren't taken seriously.
I got to stick up for the one Girthy, that Jackson miniseries from '92 wasn't as bad. I don't think it was that bad. It crammed a lot of shit into 4 hours, though, 3 hours or whatever it was that it was all said and done. And I've watched it in recent years because it's been on some of the streaming services. It's tamed down, but I mean, I thought it was all right.
What was a very interesting music biopic, loose but just interestingly told, was 24-Hour Party People. Did you ever see that?
No, who's that one about?
Well, it's about the Manchester sound and it started with Ian Curtis and Joy Division, and then it ended with Happy Mondays. It was a record label that fronted them, but they're run by just mad kooky people, and Steve Coogan plays the lead actor in it. And Coogan's brilliant because he's also he breaks the fourth wall and he's talking to the audience during the whole film. See, now right here, the Sex Pistols, they did this shit. And then we had this TV show in Britain, and it was kind of like MTV, but it was better. And that's a great film, bro. You need to see that film.
I'll have to check that one out.
And it even has it shows. So it kind of like the story it shows all these different bands coming underneath, and also too, he's that record label and that character is famous for passing on the Smiths. They said no to the Smiths. You know, a lot of funny, great, like English rock and roll.
Yeah, send me the name of that again. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, and Andy Serkis played a real life visionary producer who produced the early Joy Division. Circus, his character was badass because he'd be out there like on the fields recording sounds and shit, but he was a madman. That's a really good rock and roll movie that just told just very differently. Factory Records. Thank you.
Factory. Okay.
Yeah, but the movie is called
24-Hour Party People.
24-Hour Party People.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, the great Steve Coogan. Yeah, people know it. There you go, Sid and Nancy.
Ooh, that one's another touchy one. Yeah, I haven't seen it in many years, but I know that one's even probably more so than The Doors. That's been brought under a lot of scrutiny.
A downer, man. That shit's a downer.
I mean, as far as La Bamba goes, I mean, if we want to talk some quick inaccuracies, at least things that I know of offhand. I mean, obviously Jeffrey brought up a few as far as his character is concerned. Sure. There's clearly the Donna story. They broke up before he got famous, so like, yeah, that whole story is a little bit more. She's more of an amalgamization of probably a couple different girls, I'm imagining.
Right.
But yeah, there's just very little known about Richie to where like we almost have this movie to rely on. Like that's the thing is when I went to trying to research a lot of this shit, a lot of it went to see the movie.
Shit.
And then I mean that's kind of what the director kind of found out too when he was writing the story was, there really wasn't much to go on, and then he searched all over the place for Richie's family, only to find out they lived 15 minutes away from him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then in the movie, funnily enough, the house that Richie buys his mom in the movie, in real life, the house across the street is the one that they lived in for many years that he bought for her. So it is on the actual street, just the wrong house.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little trivial things like we could go through the movie, but like, yeah, I mean, I know we've been talking now for almost 3 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, including the pre-show. We were hitting the 2-hour mark, but and I have not heard from Bugs, so I don't know if he's gonna make it. But
well, I mean, like I said, the soundtrack is one of those things to where I mean, it was my first tape and one of my first albums that I really remember getting into as a kid, and growing up, it's always been a staple in my collection, as you can see from that picture you showed earlier. And I even have 2 copies on CD, so. There you go. I mean, it's just, and I play it all the time on MEAD radio. So there you go.
Well, I remember going to the movie theater and seeing it with my family a few times.
Cool. I didn't get lucky enough to see it in the theater, but
I was a latchkey kid, so I was seeing movies on my own when I was 9, and my dad at the time worked in Westwood Village, and Westwood Village had like I'd say a half a dozen movie theaters within more than that, within 5 blocks of each other. And so my dad cut hair right there in the center of it. And he was like, cutting rock stars' hair, Missing Persons, the Police. Like these guys were like coming in and out of his world. And, and I got to meet all those guys, and it was like New Wave and all that shit. And, with Westwood Village, if you remember Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the movie.
Oh, of course.
So when she goes to go see the movie of herself, into that movie theater, that's Westwood Village.
Oh, wow.
So those movie theaters are still there. In fact, that one, I believe, the one across the street is called the Bruin because it's a block away from UCLA. That's the area of LA I'm talking about. So, man, I saw that's where I saw all my movies. That's where I saw Empire.
Wow.
And every subsequent film, like I was like, then when I was, when I was 18 or 17 or 18, I was a senior. I took my first girlfriend to a movie there It was like a big deal.
Right.
It was Coming to America, and I drove my
Oh,
mom's car.
wow. That's cool.
It's fucking cool, man. And yeah, that was a great memory. And then it was another fun. But these theaters were like events. You know, they have the
Right.
you know, when Batman premiered, they had the fucking Batman logo up on the curtains.
Right.
It was like, wow, you know. I remember, you know, so yeah, Westwood Village, more than Hollywood, Westwood has the way better movie theaters. You know, yeah, brother.
Paulie co-invented popcorn.
He's alive. Paulie. Ever since the 10 Commandments came out, since jiggity. Shut up, fool. Palm Sun movie. Yeah, well, you know, I know Tom can appreciate it, you know.
You're supposed to be in here too, man, or who else was supposed to be all in here? Mexican
It was
Iron Man?
it was fun. I only the only other regular panelist I invited was Mexican Iron Man.
Where you at?
Where are you, man? Work is done. Come over and say hello. Oh, wait a minute. You might not have the link.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, let me get to
See,
that.
that's your fault. That's a boomer.
Well, you know, he's been so busy for the last 24 hours, so I was making sure you guys were all set. But what was there like a movie theater that you would go and see that was like, you know,
all I had until I was a teenager, all we had in the near vicinity was it was a theater that was a one screen theater. It would get movies only on the weekends, and the movies they would get would usually be 3 or 4 weeks or better older, if not more. Like summer movies I generally didn't get to see till the fall, you know, like Christmas time, that kind of thing. Usually only a few months before they come out on video. But yeah, so like, yeah, until I was a teenager, a first run movie was not a normal thing for me.
So well, up until then, what was your world, your you know, your interaction, if anything, with Chicanos, with you know, any Latinos that are American before La Bamba? Or Cheech?
None, really.
Yeah.
It was all on television or through movies until I was an adult for the most part, because where I lived was so rural that there really wasn't anybody that I can think of offhand growing up until I got older. Yeah, then I met a few people that I can think of, but other than that, no, I didn't have a lot of influence in my life, I guess, or anything like that. There was like one family that I know of that you would consider, I guess, but they were, you know, they never really acted like they had any like attachment to any kind of culture isms or anything like that. It was just, you know, so no, like, yeah, no, I really never had that much, you know, exposure outside of Taco Bell.
Oh my God, Tom and Taco Bell.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, that was probably where I met my first Texican. It was Taco Bell, working at Taco Bell.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
This buddy of mine, his name was Joe. He was a rapper. And it was funny because you look at him and he looked like this little Mexican guy, and he'd talk and he sound like this big 6-foot Texas guy. Like,
yeah. What's up, ass?
I say, the first time I met him, I said, "Hi, I'm Tom." He's like, "Hi, I'm Joe. How you doing?" And I just looked at him and I'm like, he's like, "I know my voice can be a little," and then he does rap and he sounds like a black guy. So go figure. Like, and he's so deep too. So of course there goes another, you know, stereotype down the road. But like, no, like, yeah, he was a great guy, and he was probably one of the first guys I really ever was like close friends with that was, you know, from Mexico and actually, you know, knew a lot about it and stuff like that. Then I got, after that I got a little bit more, you know, obviously I knew Taco Bell wasn't real Mexican food. And shit like that. Eventually I learned, you know.
That's funny, man. We had this beautiful this beautiful old movie theater here. I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back there, and the last movie I saw there was The Matrix. You know, 99, when that movie Over My Shoulder came out, episode 1,
Yeah.
It was such a letdown. And then that within that same time frame, The Matrix was released, and I was just like, wow, it's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I was just so impressed, man.
Well, if those sequels would have been better, I'm convinced that The Matrix would have been the Star Wars for that generation.
Man, they really loused the 2 and 3 up. Yeah.
Yeah. If it wasn't that, they probably would have been. But if not, I mean, you had the Lord of the Rings too that were big not too long after that.
Yeah, that was, and those were already being promoted. I remember that trailer, that extended trailer, and it showed the heroes walk over the mountain. That was dope, man. As a trailer, that was sick.
Yeah, that's like one of the last experiences, aside from some of the Marvel movies, that I really remember feeling like I had a huge cinematic experience. Because, like I was going to say before, like the theater I went to as a kid was not that great. I mean, it had shit sound, shitty picture. And then when I was like 12 or 13, so like 92, 93, somewhere in there, it had to be at least 93 because it was after. Like I saw Ninja Turtles 3 there, but it was before they didn't. It wasn't open when Ninja Turtles 2 came out. So 93, they opened up a small, like 6-screen kind of theater in a town about 30 miles away, and they got first run movies. So that was my first experience with like first run movies, a better quality theater. Sure, it was like a multiplex kind of theater, but it had, surround sound and all that kind of shit in it. It was where I saw the Star Wars special editions and a bunch of other stuff. So, like, yeah, I mean, that theater was all right. And then in that same town, though, they had an older theater where once in a while they would get newer films. And that's where I saw things like when I was a kid, I saw Land Before Time. And then later on, I ended up seeing Beverly Hills Cop 3, Forrest Gump. Hello, Mexican Iron Man. And
Latino Slant's Mexican Iron Man is Mexican Tax Man.
Yeah, Vampire in Brooklyn, because for some reason that theater had all the Paramount movies. They had an exclusive deal, I guess. So like it was really weird. So any Paramount movies, I always had to go to that theater to see them. But anyway.
Real quick, Mexican, before you say anything, I remember seeing the special editions, when they were released, but we all knew about Phantom Menace coming. The special editions, they came out the Hollywood theater, and if you bought all 3 tickets, you get to go to the premiere of each one. And at the Chinese, and at the first one, Mark Hamill was there, and he gave us these action figures.
Oh, cool.
How you doing, Mexican?
Oh, good. I mean, you didn't send me the link, so and then I saw on the sign there's a sign on the door that said, "No dogs, no North American Mexicans, and no Wookiees." So I wasn't sure if I get it, North America. Okay, you know what? I'm not funny. Tom, I am here as an envoy of the brown people to say that Tom is tonight is an honorary Latino.
For a second there, I thought you were doing the bit from Hateful Eight.
No, bro. You have amazed me tonight and inspired me. I'm like, holy shit, Tom knows more about my people than I do.
You know the scene I'm talking about where Samuel Jackson busts Mexican Bob?
Yeah.
I love that bit. See, Minnie
I loved Hateful Eight
over there that said, "No dogs or Mexicans allowed."
Exactly.
She took that sign down. You know why that is, Mexican Bob? Because she started allowing dogs in here.
See, I dressed up, Paulie. I didn't have a hat, so I put on my helmet. Get it? Mexican.
I love it.
Iron Man. Mexican.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Iron Man.
I love it. How you doing, brother? You got through the day?
No, dude, I got another 4 or 5 hours tonight.
Ugh.
Oh, Jesus.
How you feeling, man? How's it going?
Dude, the leg, I'm a little so I thought once I got the boot off, I'd like be ready to go for a jog or walk. Unbelievably, after not using your ankle or knee for 3 months, the son of a bitch doesn't want to fly yet. So I'm in physical therapy a few times a week, and I'm not in the wheelchair anymore. So Fat Steven can't crack any jokes about that anymore. But I would, I'm kind of like walking like my grandma right now. Kind of like with the, it's not exactly a pimp
like
walk.
You're walking with attitude, man. Just be like, "Oh, do they about to?" and all that kind of just like.
I don't know. Well, now that Paulie's around the community, I don't know. I think he's got a lock on coolness now. He just Paulie just sucked. There's this aura of coolness around him now. He sucked it all up. I remember when I was a cool Latino. I remember when I was the only one. It was just me and Ivan.
But hey,
seriously, Tom, I
want
to tell Tom one more thing. I got to tell you, one of the things that really brought me, I was over in the comics area, not so much Star Wars for like a year or two before I came over here. And then it would always piss me off with, like Tom, you took a lot of heat back then, you and all the boys did, and with the IS and the Yahtzee stuff and all that. And I just got to tell you, I'm so tickled pink just to see like Paulie and you talking about the stuff. And it just makes me really proud. It makes me proud to be your friend, Tom. It makes me proud to know Paulie. And this is what I'm talking about. These people are absolutely insane. They don't know us. They don't know anything about. And God, it's nice to see you laughing, smiling, knowing this stuff, and pulling it out. And God, there's just so much. There's just so much depth, and I just love it. It's because I'm a big fan of yours. You know that, Tom. And I'm a huge fan of Paulie's. And and just to see the two of you as a fan, to see the two of you, and then and then I'm bringing an old star on stage. I saw him on stage when I was a little tiny Mexican tamale.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
That was my question. What did you think of Jeffrey, man? Jeffrey Rivas.
I was staring. I was sitting here. My clients on the Zoom. I said, I got to put you on hold. I blacked out. I turned off the camera and I just stared. I was like, oh my God. It makes me feel like yesterday I saw him in that play, but I wasn't. I mean, I was, I was a lot thinner back then.
About that is he kind of hinted, he's like, I might have somebody from the movie. So here I'm thinking, knowing Paulie, because he knows people that act and stuff. I'm like, okay, it's probably like somebody who played like one of the kids or something, because she's like, she or he is like an actor still, or something or whatever. So Paulie just happens to know him. No, he pulls out a Jeffrey fucking,
he was just on TV the other day.
Like, no, yeah, and you look at this guy's fucking filmography, like I said, and yeah, I mean, I knew exactly who he was when he said it, and it was like, whoa,
right?
I was expecting, somebody who played like cousin number 3 or something like that,
right, Mexican tortilla farmer number 4. So I just and the funny thing
what's funny with Jeffrey. Well, yeah, I was saying, what's funny with Jeffrey is that, he knew me as a young theater assistant when I was going to college.
That's awesome.
And then I went my path and he went his path. But in dating Mrs. Slant, who's a theater and television actor, so I've been running into all my old friends, and Jeffrey's one of them. He like saw us both together the first time. He was like, "What the hell are you guys doing together?" He's a fantastic actor, man. God, he's always like scary deep, and the fact that La Bamba was a comedic performance of him.
Well, it's kind of both. Like I said, he's an antagonist, but at the same time, the director knew to pull. I didn't want to make fun of him or nothing. Yeah. But like, it's a humorous scene, because if you watch the movie, knowing this now, he's singing that part. He's the only guy doing a live performance in the movie. Because the director,
don't you know I care?
Wow.
Oh, Chandler, don't you know I love you?
He's like, yeah, pull out the audio track and just let him sing it.
Oh God.
That's what I loved about it, was that, we got to make Richie look good. They really made this guy look like an asshole. And I can understand the real guy being upset about it, but at least they changed his name and they really let Jeffrey play with this character, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's great. And I loved meeting Jeffrey and seeing how kind of, I don't want to say he's meek, but he's obviously the opposite of the character that he plays here and several other times else. And that's what you always notice. Like, look at Tom Wilson. He plays a great fucking, or even William Zabka. Both of them play really great bullies, but in real life, they're like the biggest teddy bears you'll ever meet.
Sweetheart. Correct. Right.
Tom Wilson, who's actually a stand-up comedian now, for Pete's sake. So, I mean, and he's hilarious.
He's so talented.
And he was in Oedipus. Yeah, I don't know if you haven't seen Oedipus yet, Tom, right? That's on the internet.
No, but yeah.
He was so intense. And that's just at a microphone on stage. They're all on stage, separated with a mic. There's no, what do you call it? There's no scenes. There's no staging. So you're hanging on every single word and how they deliver it. and it was
Yeah.
powerful. I watched him in Romeo when I was in rehab, when I was in the hospital, and man, it was just a powerful performance. All of them did amazing in that. It's amazing, all of them. Good job, Paulie.
Check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna find the link because it was free for months, and I think it went away. But what he was talking about was that it was like it's a play, right? And so they filmed it in the theater because of COVID. There's no audience, but it still worked. And Romy
There's no
was
stage.
Yeah, it's on stage, and
and
Romy
no
was the only
physical interaction.
right.
So imagine, when you're on stage and you're reading this, they'll say, upstage, this so and so moves here and all that. But yet when you're watching them, you can see it in your mind, almost like when you're reading a book and you see all this, when you're reading a book and it was,
yeah.
But all of them were at the top of their game. I mean, they got you in the first 2 minutes. In the first 2 minutes, bam, they got you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom, very impressed, brother. You are officially Hispanic, and I can assure you, I talked to the boys in marketing. Those of you who watch MEAD Radio, Mexican Iron Man brand products, including our international food division, and now our mini truck and lowrider tire division, stands behind as a sponsor of Tom MEAD Radio, also known as Tom Pro Gamer channel.
Awesome.
Yes, we're proud sponsor of Tom Pro Gamer.
To continue our relationship. That's awesome. No, I love you, Mexican Iron Man.
I love you too, bro. Last night he was playing, and then he was going through like with the Cobra Kai, and then he started doing Miguel, and I'm like, no, Tom, not Miguel. He's gonna get served with a domestic violence case. No, use the other character.
Oh, you're using Miguel last night?
No, it was a couple nights ago because now I'm on the Cobra Kai side. But when I was, I'm on the Miyagi-Do. But when I was doing the Cobra Kai, it had Miguel in that side. Yeah.
I'm like, you're gonna have to go to the classes every Tuesday down at the county, and like I look around the chat room. I'm like, hey guys,
It's not my fault. Miguel was one of the better players of the Cobra Kai side. I mean, I can't help that.
Anyway, you guys are awesome. I'm gonna pop out, but I just want to thank both of you for this rich content and bringing an old movie that meant so much in my life, and a lot of people's lives, bringing it back to life. You guys were amazing what you did tonight. It's almost like it just came out. You made me feel like it just came out again.
Well, nobody ever talks about it. It's a movie that I remember when I was a kid. It was a big movie. I mean, I always kind of considered it right up in the ranks of things like Karate Kid and stuff like that. It was one of those movies that was always on cable and TV. And, like I said, I had the VHS. I wore my cassette soundtrack out. I mean, you could not even hear it anymore after a while. Like, yeah, it's crazy. So, like, I mean, yeah, it was one of those movies. I don't know why it kind of fell out of the vernacular or whatever you want to call it, or the public view. But I wish more people would bring it up. And if we could pull together some kind of reunion with Jeffrey and maybe Lou and Asai or something like that, that'd be a fucking amazing balls.
And Mata says, grew up in Michigan. At the time, hardly any Mexicans. La Bamba meant so much to me. Awesome seeing people on the screen who look like me. Going to watch this live from beginning. Oh, yeah. Please watch. Yeah, and in fact, that's the very first thing that I bring up. And thanks for being here. And hopefully, you guys, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the Latino Slant and to Tom's channels. Tom, I didn't know who I was as far as being Latino with the brown skin until it was pointed out as a young teenage guy who wanted to be the next Luke Skywalker. Like, oh, you can't do that. You can do Zoot Suit, but you can't do that.
Right.
Like, all right. Well, that's kind of jacked up, but all right,
Yeah.
And then I saw La Bamba, and I was like, oh man, that's fucking bad.
Well, not only that, La Bamba is a very positive story. Besides, and I don't think it really perpetuates any real stereotypes. Yeah. And that's why I asked you that earlier. Is I feel like I think it did a very good job portraying many sides of the Mexican American culture, I should say. Even, some of the bad parts with Bob, but some of the best parts with Richie and his mom. I mean, Bob's problems are universal problems, Exactly. And the thing is Bob is a redemptive character. He does get redemption at the end. And in real life too. I mean, he by the end of the movie, we see, even though it's done, and this is what I talk about, how great the movie is and how it doesn't waste any time. is we see the arc of his character by the end of the film. You know, we see that scene with him on the phone with Richie, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna meet you in Chicago." You can tell he's been sober. He's there being a father to his daughter. He may not have patched things up with Rosie yet necessarily, but you know, we see that he's made a change in his life. And him and Richie had that blow up, but they've also come back together even before. And I don't know how accurate that is. I want to believe that phone call happened, and I think it did from what Bob said. But yeah.
Well, and I think what's amazing about these stories, and just like Selena, is that they're all American stories. You know, they fit in. You know, and I always say there's lots of room on my bookcase. It's not, I got room for everybody. These are great stories, man.
Yeah. Well, and then it's comparative to The Godfather in that way too, because Godfather is very much an American story in a lot of ways, and and that's the thing that a lot of people forget is that America is more than just white people. It's
what's the first line in The Godfather?
Yeah, exactly. I believe in America.
I believe in America.
Exactly.
The great. Oh my God, don't get. Yeah. Well, cool, man. I think we can wrap this up. I know.
Yeah.
I know you've had a long.
Talk about La Bamba forever. Probably
we could go on forever, but I also know that rest and relaxation is also important. What are you doing? Are you doing anything later tonight?
Outside of sleeping, probably not. I don't know if I got anything else left in me or not. If I do get in a third wind, you never know. I might do some Mead radio. Who knows? It's not quite midnight yet. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll do a Day the Music Died tribute, play some LaBamba.
Dude, I can't believe
Buddy Holly soundtrack or something like that.
I can't believe I was like already ready for the show, and then I saw that again. I was like,
you should have kept your mouth shut and just pretend you planned it that way.
Cool, man. What else do you have lined up this week as far as anything that you might want
to? We got Midnight's Edge in the morning on Friday. I'm not sure yet who I got for a guest, so I don't want to say anything because I'm not sure what Andre has figured out, because I know we had some special shit coming up for that. Other than that, you'll just normal stuff. You can find me on Comics Division usually on Thursday nights. We got the Midnight's Edge in the morning every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 11 Central. Then the Midnight's Edge After Dark, we try to do at least 2 or 3 times a week, and that's usually on the off days of the main channel, and then on the weekends sometime. And then otherwise, you can find me just doing Mead Radio and the High Council and Friday Night Tights. I play Cobra Kai when I get the when I get the bite to do so, or time to do so. So yeah, that's what I do. I've tried to slim my schedule down, but it doesn't seem to work out too well.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Man. It's been a pleasure.
Really appreciate it. We're about to close it up really quickly. What's going on here? Tomorrow night is our X-Files watch party. It's the end of season 1. We're watching the final episode of the X-Files season 1. And having our top 5 lists with 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser and Shellback. Friday night, 10 p.m. This is going to be fun. It's the top Latino act. It's actually the actors countdown, not the actresses. The actors countdown, but it's with an all-female panel, including myself. I'm not a female, but I will be there with Purple Valkyrie, Miss Billy Music, and another female panelist as well. That is going to be a lot of fun. And then Saturday night, doing the Slanted Cinema, Bad Cinema. I think we're going to have Mad Mardigan and Sporking News talking Enter the Dragon and Jim Cotta. Enter the Dragon and Jim Cotta, if you can believe that. Next Slant. The next Slant. I know, yeah, we'll get to that. We're doing a fundraiser next week, guys. The Slant is going to go Southern California Animal Rescue Squad fundraiser. This is where I got my dogs. Me and Romy saved 2 dogs through these guys. They're great nonprofit. We want to raise money for them. Romy will be on here, as well as Andy Vargas of Santana. Going to be on here talking about animal rescue. Whew. All right. I'm done, Tom.
When are we going to do the short people in costumes episode? Howard the Duck and Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, let's do it like a week from Saturday.
All right, deal.
All right, yeah, and let's keep this going because I know I wanted to also
Do you
do
want
a.
3 or do you want only 2? Because it sounds like you've pared it down to 2 now.
I think I pared it down to 2, and we'll. I think we paired it down. I want to pare it down to 2, and then maybe if there's a new bad release, I'll let you guys know about it.
All right.
Because I'm watching a lot of new bad movies, and I think that's a lot of fun to discover new bad films.
Then I can pretty much guarantee which movie's going to win, but I think those 2 you can put up against each other because they both got little people in rubber masks. So that'll be
the theme.
Theme. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's set it for a week from Saturday, and we'll be like me, you, clobbering, and maybe Mexican, and we'll figure that out.
All right.
Dope, man. Oh, and we still need to do that martial arts thing we were talking about.
Oh yeah. We should. We'll have to figure that one out. But yeah, Howard the Duck, Garbage Pail Kids, got it.
Howard the Duck, Garbage Pail Kids. I want to thank everyone that's been in and out of the chats all night long. Hopefully, you all loved the interview as much as I did, and having the great Tom from Midnight's Edge on our channel. And
you humbled me.
And Mata says thanks. It's amazing subscribing. Had a great night. Thanks for showing love to an epic, amazing movie. Doesn't get appreciation as it should. Luis Valdez is a legend. Wow.
If we could get Luis too for that reunion, that'd be awesome.
I mean, Luis, we could talk for hours with. I mean, the work he's done.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you guys. We'll see you soon. We'll leave you with some music. Muchísimas gracias. Have a good night, Tom.
I'll do my best.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The Slant. The Slant. All right, Paul, let's go.